This episode is brought to you by Anchor FM. If you've ever thought about launching your own podcast or looking for a new host for your current podcast, there's no better way or time than now. Anchor FM is the best podcast host and is completely free. Not only does Anchor not cost you anything, but you can monetize your podcast from the very start with no minimum listener base. All you got to do is go to anchor.fm to get started or download their free app. You can also record straight from the app and post it. It's got tons of features and functionality in the app where you can add background music and you can add your art for your podcast and all kinds of cool stuff. I highly recommend Anchor FM, so get started today with anchor.fm. Yeah, true that. Make sure you're looking at your mic when you talk to it.
I talk to my mic all the time. I make love to it. Freedom isn't free. It costs lives like you and me.
If you won't put in your Bucko 5, who will?
I feel the minutes count down on the clock again. Feel like I'm playing in a game that I can never win. Time is running out, I know I gotta make a choice. So many whispers in my ear that I can't hear my voice. Tell me, will it end the situation that I'm in? Or am I bound to sit alone, drowning in my sins? Get right or get left, what will it be? Time is running out, the blood is flowing down the streets. People need to know we're living in a war zone. Hit the streets with the truth, tell them that it's on. Get right or get left, what will it be?
Trophy!
Oh my God. You know what? That's just as good as any spot to start the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loot Bros podcast. I'm your host, Resident Darrell, and this week I got Johnson, Jam, and Joe.
Yo, yo, yo.
We got coming in clutch CJ.
Hey guys, good to be back again. Taking Kalai's moniker. I like it.
There you go. There you go. Somebody's got to take it since she bailed on us.
Oh, somebody's got to take it indeed.
There you go.
I took it this week, Jimmy Ryan. You bent me over and I took it. But I'm not the only one. 10 million of us took it, Darrell.
That's right.
We loved it. We loved
Jimmy
it.
Ryan's like, I ain't even got to play games and I'm getting all of this. 10 million.
I only get that gif of him laughing now that I've played that system, and I can see why he's laughing.
There you go. There you go. We got finally back from the dead, ZJ Zack.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Tricky.
What's up?
Sounds like a PS5 starting up.
It didn't even take like 5 minutes to get a tricky reference.
Oh, man, I know, right? I'm starting off on fire this week. All right, guys. We're going to
I've just got to say, seeing we've saluted the pirate so early on in the episode, it really has come full circle for this little podcast, the podcast that could, the Loot Bros. And I'm sure you'll agree with this, Darrell. I saw, you recently launched a Patreon. You're moving up in the world, this little guy, and you got acknowledged by the greatest, what is it, the #1 PlayStation show on the East Coast or something. But
That's
not
right.
only that, he gave your Patreons tips for how to listen to your Patreon content in the Patreon. And I thought that's just that's the big man helping the little guy up a step, isn't it?
That's right.
Wonderful.
That's right.
Wonderful.
He came off his high horse. He came, oh my God, I got a trophy. He came off. There you go. There you go. He came down from his throne and said, hey, listen here, little guy. I'm going to show you how it's done. So, yeah, we're going to get into the show this week. We're going to kind of dive in. There's a whole bunch of stuff I want to toast and shout out to. As CJ alluded to earlier, we did launch our Patreon. We are super excited about having it. There's some great content on there. And I just want to say at the top of the show, it is super easy to get involved. If you want to check out the extra stuff we have a $1 tier. It's called the Poop Sock. Just when you can't get enough of the Loot Bros and you got to have some more. And that gives you access to an extra show a month called the Super Loot Bros. It also gets you access to some of the little spin-off, side, one-off, random bonus shows that we do. CJ threw one out there called The Wish List, which I thought was friggin' awesome. Fantastic. Where CJ, who plays a whole ton of games that we can't just sit here and cover every single one of them on the show, where he sat down and he just kind of dove into, I think it was 5 games that you thought stood out for the month of July.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that was very good. It was a very enjoyable listen. And I think that is the type of value that we're going to provide here on the Loot Bros Patreon that nobody else is going to give you. Nobody else is going to talk to you about these great diamonds in the rough.
Mm. Well, unlike IGN, Darrell, we play more than 3 games a month here.
And we don't always play them on easy mode.
Well, I do. I don't know about you.
I'm not playing Retromania on easy right now. What are you talking about? All right, guys, let's toast. This week's toast goes out to our patrons. We have 5 new patrons. We have some Patreon producers. I want to give a shout out to our Patreon producers. We have the affectatious Sony Pony himself. We have Veronica. And then we have, our good friend of the show coming in at the top tier. We have Jared. Now, what I wanted to kind of put out there, because there was a little bit of conversation in the threads in the Facebook group. And so the top tier, the You Pick, We Play tier, is you come in, you pick a game, you pick a host. And then that host has, a calendar year to complete the game that you choose. Now, right now, there's no crazy caveats other than it can't be some endless 1,000-hour, bukkake grind, some kind of bull crap that, you can't finish. So something actually reasonable that, one of the hosts can play. And we would strongly encourage examples like this. So like Kalai loves racing games. So if you want to come in and pledge at the top tier of our Patreon, games like Gran Turismo, Forza Motorsport, Forza Horizon, Kalai would gladly take you up on those. Tanner loves to play the most broken and janky of your platinum and achievement trash. So if you wanted to come in and say, hey, Tanner, you need to play games like Mr. Masagi or My Name is Mayo, he would absolutely love that. And Zack would love to play literally anything. Just a single game.
Can we just have a tier to make a list?
Just to mention.
There's the 50-cent tier.
Make me. If you pledge $1, you get to pick Zach's list. Just make it all Minecraft games, just on different systems.
Yeah, just pick the little mini games in Minecraft. So, also, I wanted to give a shout out to a good friend of mine, listener of the show, Justin Cooper, who is the host of the Geek Life HQ podcast. Now, if you're listening to Loot Bros and you like what you hear, this would be the R-rated version of the Loot Bros. And instead of focusing so much on games, they focus more on movies. A great group of guys over there, some really close friends who make me laugh, like hysterically make me laugh. And so I binged a few of their episodes this past week, and it was freaking hilarious. So what I wanted to toast to was our Patreon producers and my good friend Justin Cooper and his podcast, Geek Life HQ. You got to check it out.
Toasting with Planter's nuts.
So you're saying you're toasting these nuts in your mouth?
These nuts. These Planter's nuts.
All right. So, Zach, it's been a long time since you've been on the show.
That it has.
Surely, by now, you've played at least one video game.
You are wrong, sir. I
At
can't
this
play
point,
anything. Everything's been packed up.
At this point, it's the running gag. He's like, I'm going to not play games on purpose.
He's like a streak going.
Nothing. Not even some honeypot?
Nope.
Jeez.
Other than some mobile games, but that's about it, because that's all I have. That's all I really could play for the time being.
Man,
You sound like one of those trophy hunter haters, Zach. Oh, I'm not even turning on the system. I hate it. I hate games. Oh, trophies have ruined it all for me. I hate my life.
It is true. I am not an achievement hunter.
Yeah, we'll just blame them.
You're not wrong there.
Yeah. It's the achievements I didn't play because of the bloody achievement.
There you go.
Dang it! Actually, getting something for playing it. Ugh.
Why would I do that? Ugh.
I tell you
Yeah,
what, you
these
get
are-
something from playing Honeypot, don't you? You get a nice
Hey.
something down there.
What am I, gamer?
Well, it's okay. So explain to me this honeypot, since that's the running theme, the last real game you completed. What exactly is
I
it?
didn't even play it. I played
Okay,
it for like
so you
30
played
minutes.
with it.
No, I played with it after or before I started it up.
What is the game?
From what I remember, it's mainly a puzzle game,
Okay.
and I'm trying to I think it's like, if I remember correctly, it's like Candy Crush,
Okay.
but with titties.
All right, now when I launch the next big thing we're doing is the Loot Bros merch store. I'm revamping the old one. I'm changing to a different company, and so I'm going to have a shirt with a logo and then a slogan from every host. And then Zack's slogan is going to be, "It's like Candy Crush, but with titties."
I'm okay with that.
It's like, listen to the Loot Bros podcast. It's like Candy Crush, but with titties.
Which of the three consoles, not including PC, obviously, which of the three main consoles do you think this Honeypot is most likely to come to?
Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
You reckon Switch would do it?
Oh, hell
There's-
yeah. Don't put anything on there.
I'd say PlayStation won't do it. They've been censoring stuff for the past few years. So
They got their
Switch
big
will
kitty
do it.
poker. They might.
Well, I mean, does it actually? Okay, so a lot of times we joke about these games, and
Or like
they're
no
just,
titty poker.
they're risque, but they're not actual nude. Is it at the real? Is it like the full on, or is it just like alluding to the nudity?
Ooh, you definitely see boobies, but I don't remember if you see full VJ or not.
Full VJ.
All right,
That's a great review.
sounds like you need a refresher before you do your reviews, Zach.
Needs to play some games.
Hey, that was sprung up on me. All right.
I'm sure that's not the only thing that sprung up on you while you were playing Honeypot.
Oh.
Well, old Jimmy Ryan is sitting there now going, yeah, we believe in VJs.
So, all right. Well, Joe, what have you been playing?
Yeah, games.
All right.
That can be my slogan. Well, we've been playing,
Nice.
Joe. Games. You know, the kind that you put in your system. A lot of different things, actually. I've been checking out this Tennis World Tour 2 for the PlayStation 4 console, the console of choice on the PS5.
There you go.
I have 27% of the trophies, and I've only been playing it since last night, so I'm just railing through some trophies here. I got like half of them done already. It's your standard tennis game. Corey sucks at it because I whipped his ass online.
Naturally. I mean, he is from Canada.
Oh yeah, Canadians can't play tennis. I don't think they have good tennis players there. But I don't know. It's not your Virtua tennis, and I love Virtua tennis like a lot. Like I played it a lot, like a lot on 360. And there hasn't really been like a good tennis game that's really caught my attention since Virtua tennis. And I like tennis. Like I used to go to the U.S. Open every year until COVID struck. So stupid virus.
Yeah, stupid virus.
Yeah, stupid virus.
Yeah, I was just looking up who made that game because it's really, I don't know how familiar you are with these like slightly dodgy B grade sports games, Joe, but this one's made by Big Ben Interactive. Of course, there's also Big Ant, which is an Australian company that dabbles in tennis games as well, of a similar quality. But the thing with that Big Ben is like they do the WRC games as well, or they did.
Those
I
are
think
janky racing games.
Yeah, they still do 7, 8, and 9, but they're a really all over the place publisher. They're also infamous for the Sherlock Holmes Devil's Daughter as well. That one.
Oh my god,
Still in
those
a
games
lawsuit.
are god awful.
Well, they're whatever, but that was the one that ran.
Oh yeah, they're whatever.
Yeah, no, but their catalog is really bizarre, like Hunting Simulator. Yeah,
I mean, they make games, I guess.
But their problem is they seem to make like one entry in every style of game possible, rather than actually develop anything and maybe improve their abilities in a certain genre. They just keep making different sports games, different everything.
I feel like their slogan for their company is "Variety is the spice of life," and by "spice of life" they mean shit on a cracker. Because none of their games are really that great. Let's move on though. I played a game that I don't know why I'm still playing. It's like one of those games like, and this will come to one of our questions of the week, like where Jared reached out and said like, hey, like we should have like a retire a game option. And yeah, I agree, because I played Beyond Two Souls again.
Game's great.
No, it's not.
That game is great.
It's not great. No, it's not. It's all over the place, like all over the place. Like I don't understand what's going on in the story half the time. And then there's like Navajo Indians and there's spirits
when
and
you have a situation like that, it's not the game, it's the user, man. It's just a bug.
Oh yeah. It's just not my cup. It's just not my cup of tea.
Hey man, sometimes it is okay to admit that sometimes the entertainment we experience is beyond our comprehension.
It's beyond Two Souls. Apparently, it's beyond a story and a plot too. That makes sense.
Are you playing it like the original way it was released, or are you playing?
I'm playing the new remix timeline mode where it's like all in order. So like it should make sense, but it makes less sense. I feel like I should have just like played it in its Tarantino cut up version.
Yes,
and it would have made more, and maybe it would have made more sense to me.
David Cage is the gaming Tarantino, man. I'm trying to tell you.
I mean, he's amazing. Like all his other games have been good, but like I don't like Elliot Page either. Or Elliot Page, right?
Wait, which one is it now?
What do you mean? Which one is it?
Okay, isn't it the one that's no longer Elliot or Ellie?
No, she's not Ellie. She's Elliot now.
Okay, got you.
So Elliot is a very subpar actor. To say the least.
So softly on that one. I'm still with a question mark. Actor?
Because when you can't act, are you really an actor?
Look, everyone plays that game for Aiden. I mean, let's be real.
Aiden, you mean?
Same thing.
Aiden, help me! Aiden, help me!
Aiden transitioned to Aiden. Okay, let's just
low hanging fruit, and you took it. You just took it right off the tree.
I mean, look, man, I couldn't remember. Okay, so what?
So Aiden,
it's not even real.
So basically, she has like superpowers for anyone who hasn't played this game, and she can control. Like Aiden is like this spirit that lives within her, and he can do some pretty cool things, like knock water bottles over and get angry, and that's open doors apparently. But she has two arms and can't open the door.
Wow, sounds dangerous.
Yeah, I know. So I got to this chapter where you're literally in the Navajo desert and like it doesn't even tell you where to go. That's why I love David Cage games, because they're like, hey, like you want a game where like there's no hand holding and it's like 1997 all over again with really, really janky plots. I could have put this in the weird and janky category. But I'm like, okay, so what do I do? And okay, so now there's secret Navajo spirits coming after me. What is happening in this game? Like the first hour of it made sense, and then like it just went off the rails.
It does, and it's one of those games that like the middle that the Navajo Indian section is the worst part in my opinion. Like I couldn't tell you how that was relevant unless it was trying to say that Aiden was somehow associated with that. But it gets better. Like it comes around.
It gets better. I still have 6 chapters left.
The beginning
get better.
The beginning and the end were good. That midsection right there is what made that game like the least good David Cage game.
This game's about to get future endeavored.
It's about to get finished and platinumed. Let's be real. I mean, come on, man. You're about to fall in love with it. It's about to get you with that charm. You're about to go, oh, masterpiece.
Well, I already got past the 15-minute mark, so I can't call it a masterpiece at this point. According to Levi's rules, I already played too much of it. So to call it a masterpiece at this point would be, I can't do that. Not with good conscience, at least, you know.
Yeah, I get it. It's that was a pretty divisive title, but overall, it was. I liked it. I liked it a good bit.
I started a second playthrough of Fire Emblem 3 Houses, which I know everyone's all excited to hear about. Because whenever I talk about Switch games, it's like, oh, Joe's playing the same Switch games he's been playing for the last 7 months. Is he going to play any of the other 40 he owns? No. The answer is no, people. Stop asking.
Well, here's a question for you.
Stop asking.
Here's a question for you. Is there, like, I don't know how far you're into your second playthrough. Is there a fair narrative difference in it?
100%, because you're playing as a completely different house with different
Okay,
people.
so it's worth playing again.
Oh, yeah. For me, yeah.
I mean, CJ, let's define worth here, okay?
Well, like, is the story different, like, or the same? Yeah.
I mean, the main story itself stays the same, but, like, the interactions with your characters are totally different because they're different characters.
Yeah.
So like, if you're into the social aspect of those kind of games, like Persona and Fire Emblem, like, that they're worth replaying if you missed anything social-wise.
Yeah, so it's not just a carbon copy, basically, on the other side.
No. And then there's a fourth story on DLC, which I get to pay money for. Thank you, Nintendo.
I thought you didn't do DLC.
No. Fire Emblem, I do DLC.
Oh, wait. That's the exception to the rule?
Yes.
What rude human being is got their ringer on in the middle of a podcast?
Oh, sorry. I got a text message, and my ringer was on. Sorry.
Wow. Everybody shun this guy. Boo him.
Oh, snap. Breaking breaking wrestling news on the podcast here. Bobby Fish was just released by WWE. Yep.
What?
They're going on.
That means Kyle O'Reilly's going too.
And the exodus continues.
Yeah, they're going under.
Anyway, what else did I play this week? Not much, really. Like, that's kind of really it. Like, I didn't play too much this week. I was really busy with work. I really want to concentrate on playing a lot of stuff this weekend. I did play Hyrule Warriors for another, like, 10 hours maybe. So now I'm up to, like, 100, almost 200 hours, I think. I'm about to eclipse 200 hours soon.
That's insane.
Dude, there's so much to do in that game and so much to collect. It'll make your head spin. Like, I literally have an Excel spreadsheet on my, like, floor in my room that, like, tells me how to do everything I need to do because, like, the internet's just too confusing sometimes. I'm like, all right, look at the sheet. All right, I'm on the map. All right, so the map's set up into, like, cubes, and then it does, like, down the columns, they're all, like, numbered, and then across the top on, like, the x-axis, or down on the bottom on the x-axis, there's letters, right? So letters and numbers, and then you match up the letter and the number, and that's how you figure out what mission you're on, and then you have to figure out what the actual, like, extra thing you have to do in the mission is to unlock, like, either the piece of clothing, the heart container, or the golden skulltula that you're missing. And it's just a pain in the ass because they don't tell you what to do in the game. They give you, like, these brief tiny paragraphs, and then they put, like, question marks over the actual detail, like a bunch of fuckers. And I'm like, this is like trying to get trophies back in the heyday when they didn't give you the option to hit, like, the square button and, like, tell you what you had to unhide the trophy.
Right.
I don't want to go back to that unhide the trophy days. Like, we're beyond that. Like, please don't make me do that anymore. I wish there was a button where you could just hit and pay to pop them sometimes. Like, I'm at that point. I'm at that point in my journey.
There's a game that has come out. That's what you do.
I know Nier has that. Nier Autonoma or Automata or however they want to pronounce it today. Oh, boop, 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 boop. There's a giant list of people that got released. Bronson Reed gone. Bronson Reed got released.
Kyle O'Reilly's on the list, isn't he?
Jake Atlas released. Ari Sterling released. Kona Reeves, no, they got rid of the finest. I loved Kona Reeves. Leon Ruff gone. Stefan Smith gone. Tyler Russ gone. Zack Harry Smith gone. Asher Hale gone. Mercedes Martinez gone.
This is WWE.
Wow. Yeah.
This is all
I don't
NXT.
even know who those are.
Giant
Yeah, I don't even know
Zangier
who those
gone.
people
It's
are.
all NXT. So NXT just did, like, a mass exodus. But anyway, back to Loot Bros. That was your brief moment of Wrestle Bros podcast coming soon.
Don't worry, Wrestle Bros is coming back. CJ, what have you been playing, brother?
No wrestling games, that's for sure.
Not yet.
Well, before we address the white elephant in the room, I'll throw out some more love on...
Hey,
on Scar.
It's a beautiful you leave that beautiful L alone.
Oh, he's quick today. Throw out some more love on Scarlet Nexus. So I basically almost finished. I'm in the last phase of the first playthrough or whatever else, and that game just gets better and better. It really does. Like, you know, we talked before that if you don't like anime, it's going to be a tough sell because there's very long cutscenes in that, like 20-minute long sort of mini episodes, I suppose, and there is a good amount of the game. You know, you can go down the path of giving gifts and watching Bond episodes and things like that to and you know, they're not worthless like some games. You know, it's just a waste of time doing that. But this really, it unlocks different levels of affinity with your character. It's a little bit like Sword Art Online, and it does open up new skill sets within the game, which is sort of cool. So there's a reason to do it. And the game, it definitely, like, there's a lot going on. Like I talked before with the controller, you know, you're utilizing all the bumpers, all the buttons, and directional things, and you really need to as you get into sort of the midway point of the story, because it does get a little bit difficult with the sort of the boss fights, and you can't just sort of button mash at all, even though it is a hack and slash style game. So I think they did an amazing job, and I think, you know, it will probably unfortunately fall under the radar and only be played by people sympathetic to the Asian persuasion, I suppose, of games. But I think there's a lot there for anybody to play. I mean, there's a ton of gameplay as well, and I know it's a full price game or whatever at the moment, but you know, it does look good as well, like a next gen game. So I think, you know, it's a full credit to Bandai. They didn't cut any corners in a year that, you know, we're seeing games either get pushed or have a lot of corners cut. So I think that's a team. Yeah, I'd really recommend it, Joe. And it's one of those games where, like, the first 4 or 5 phases, so 6 hours, it was a bit like, I'm not sure, but then it really got my hooks into me. And I know Tanner's in a similar position. I think he's going to maybe finish it this weekend, and it'll be interesting to hear what he says. But it really does pick up, and the combat is really good. You know, there's a lot of variety in there. So that's a great game. And then, I mean, we should probably address the white elephant in the room, which is the PlayStation. What number are they up to? 4.5? 4.6?
One of us.
Sony pony. So I think you should have a new Patreon podcast with Tanner every time you finish a Japanese game called Asian Persuasion.
That's great. You know where I got that phrase from? I heard, and it was a bit of a sexual innuendo as well, which was lovely, sir. But I don't think he listens. Is that guy? And I don't know his name, Joe, but you probably know. It's the guy that records the Nintendo podcast. Steve is one of the hosts, I think, and it's the other guy.
Andy.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. Yeah, and I've heard him say it a few times, referring to gentlemen callers, I think. And it's wonderful, a wonderful phrase. So I've stolen it for games. Or whatever else, but yeah, no, it's a great phrase. So anyway, PlayStation 5. So I mean, you've all played it now, Zach. Maybe I'm not sure.
Of course, Zach has. I mean, he plays all the games.
Yeah,
I've played every video game.
But I mean, well, yeah. So like, it's like, I don't know, like, throw a couple of things out that surprised me. Like, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I know when it first came out, there was a lot made of the controller and of the resistance in the triggers or whatever else. And then I haven't heard a lot about that since. And I know you guys have mentioned it or whatever, but when I picked it up, I thought it was going to be like a gimmick. And yeah, it is a gimmick, but I didn't think there would be the amount of resistance there is, which really surprised me. Like, you really do have to pull down, and it's sort of like, you know, anything new, you're like, oh, I don't want to break it. So I sort of half pull it down, and then it's not going, and then you realize you can really slam it down. So I thought that was a lot better than I was expecting. And I assume most of you have played that Astro's Playroom. Yes. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah. And so that was a really good demonstration of that, of the blowing on the controller. I thought that was kind of cool as well. And in particular, one of the things that I don't like is move controls, or, you know, in the PS3, I forget the fancy words, Rexus or whatever it was, where you could move it around. And some games on the PS4 did that, but not really. And then in this game, they had the climbing up the walls, where you'd swing the controller while you're also swinging the buttons to move your hands or whatever. And I thought, like, that's something I hadn't done before. I suppose the closest I'd come to that was in the VR game, and I forget the name of it. It's the one that makes you throw up. It was set in a planet, didn't do very well, or whatever else, and you explore. And I suppose that's the closest I've come to that sort of motion or whatever. So I thought, well, that's pretty cool, and that's stuff that is directly related to the controller. So it's not possible on the Xbox as it stands. And I thought it was funny this week that Phil Spencer made a comment that they did feel they could have done more with the controller, or in the future they will do more, because he's quite impressed with the DualSense. That's what you call it, isn't it?
Yep.
Controller. So I thought, that it's a good win for Microsoft down the road, that they're acknowledging that, it's more than just something in your hands. And having said all that, there are negatives too. I was, because I'd never held a PS5 controller before, I was surprised how narrow the ends are that come into your hands. And again, it depends what sort of hand problems you suffer with, but we've all been gaming for long enough, so we all have some sort of problem. But I find that in particular, I think coming from the Xbox controller, it's a little fatter on the sticks. So just having that more, I like it, get my hands around it, Darrell, really feel it. And it's hard on that. So I noticed that. And the other thing, the other thing I thought too, and this is something that, I know Fly's wondering, I think too, and I was wondering a lot of, is with that resistance in the triggers, like what sort of effect that's going to have on your hands long term if you play a lot. Because like, to detract, I come from a musical background, and one of the things you have to be careful of when you're practicing a lot when you're young, like 6-8 hours a day at university, is the wear and tear and RSI you can do on your fingers in particular. And you have to be very careful, and I know this sounds a bit over the top, but it's true. And one of the things that people have done in the past, professional musicians, is actually tied little weights to their fingers, or had finger weights, in the belief that it would actually make, pushing against the resistance would make your fingers stronger. But over time, that's been proven to be actually very negative. It can have major effects on the nerve endings in your hand and everything. And while like the resistance is not crazy on that thing, it's still quite a lot. And I was thinking at the time, like, imagine playing a 50-hour game, fairly intensely over like a week or two, and playing with that setting. It would be interesting to see how your hands would feel, I think. And then as I was playing the other night, I was like, I probably should turn this off now, because I know what it's like, and just give the hands a rest. But I still haven't turned it off, so I suppose it gets you in. But it does make me wonder over long term with older gamers. I don't know if you thought of that, Darrell. You probably don't have any problems, maybe.
No, I don't particularly have any hand issues, and I mean, we all know I don't play long enough or frequent enough to probably develop them. But after playing several games that really do utilize the resistance on the triggers, I can totally see it. And like you said before, my first thought was, I don't want to break this thing, because it really does in some games lock you down. Like, you gotta put pressure on there.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not a negative, and it's not a thing that, like if you're playing within the limits of responsibility of like an hour or two a day, it's not something you'd have to worry. But it's more probably a thing if you just go through a period where you're playing hours a day, I wonder. Yeah. And use it. But one of the things that I noticed, because I've only played like the exclusives or whatever, that obviously some are more geared towards it than others, and playing Ratchet at the moment, it's really effective in that. And one of the things that I'm sure somebody said, from talking to people, but I didn't understand, because you don't understand until you have it in your hand, I suppose, is the footsteps. So when you're walking on different surfaces, whether it be metal or it be grass or be soft, you can actually feel a difference in the controller with the vibrations, which is very cool. And then even this morning, I played some Final Fantasy 14, the PS5 update version, and even that has it in it, which surprised me. So when you're in your like your flying car or whatever, you can actually feel some turbulence through the controller, which of course is not there on the PS4 version. So I thought that was great. And then, not to drag on, but probably because I'm trying to be sort of unbiased, because one of the things that is interesting is when you come at something, it's been out 7 months now, I suppose, 6 or 7 months. And having not played one at all, you really, you develop in this mind that maybe the grass is greener on the other side mentality. And and again, not biased here, although you can think whatever you like. When you put the two systems side by side, it's clear that the Xbox is more powerful graphically and also load times. It's more clear on the third-party games I've noticed that I've played so far. And that's an interesting position for Sony, because like both sides are going to get better, obviously. But, a screen-on-screen comparison of some racing games like WRC is a big difference between the two, running on a good TV on the same setup. It's a noticeable difference. So again, it doesn't necessarily matter, I suppose, if you're not after performance, but I think if you're moving between both, you will. And for me, it's sort of cemented in my mind that it'll definitely be a spam machine and an exclusives machine, and any third parties, and it's a bit hard because I like playing my racing games. I like, going for a platinum in a racing game, but I'm not going to play WRC games when they look, inferior. I'm not going to put 50 hours into that game when I could have it looking better and the immersion and stuff. So I think it will improve, but I think PlayStation's really, I was trying to think of the wording the other day. It's like they've really captured the gaminess of a game. It looks like a game, a bit like a Nintendo looks like a game. I can see the animation. I can see the lines. I'm definitely playing a game. The Xbox has the power for simulations and these games. I know I'm playing a game, but I really feel immersed. Like I can really make out fine detail in the environments at high speed. And I suppose that's the tech and the PC push. But again, it would totally depend on the games that you're playing. And so I suppose the last bit was I wanted to sort of maybe ask, you two, or you've played it for a bit now, what you'd recommend to play, because I've been dabbling like in the first 5 minutes of everything because I want to, like a kid in a can of shit, want to try everything, put my hand in it and then in my mouth. But what have you sort of, because you've both had it for a little while, what have you sort of settled on? What are you enjoying, I suppose? What should I try?
You go first, Joe.
I would definitely say play Miles Morales, just because of the way the game feels with the triggers and everything, and just the swinging around. It just feels so different on the PS5 versus the PS4 version. And just the ray tracing looks so great in that game. Like honestly, it's a gorgeous game. I can't wait to see what they do with a full blown Spider-Man game. And even if you play the remake, I don't know if you have the deluxe version of it, or even you could even buy the Spider-Man. The original game, the PS5 version, is actually worth playing again on PS5. It just looks so much better and it loads better. The game's just a phenomenal game to begin with, but it's even better on the 5 now. Tony Hawk, if you have Tony Hawk for PS4, you only have to pay $10 to upgrade it to PS5. One of those ones that's not free because Activision doesn't believe in free upgrades because they can suck a Wang Chang, a Ching Chong, and a Bing Bong.
Well, they're not the only ones.
Some of that was provocative and some of that was racist.
Fucking assholes.
He felt that $10, I can tell you.
Yeah, he did.
Wang
Chang.
Ching Chong and a Bing Bong.
Oh
I'm mad because everybody else is giving out free updates, and Sega's the same way. They can suck off with all the freaking Yakuza games. Like playing Yakuza Like a Dragon on PS5 is actually worth playing on PS5. It's gorgeous, plays well. I really wish they would make a Persona, honestly, CJ, and I think that would get you hooked, but no really big RPGs yet to play on it, which is kind of disappointing at this point. I thought, you could replay Final Fantasy VII if you want to play through another 50 hours of Final Fantasy. It's worth it. The ray tracing looks absolutely phenomenal in that game, and it plays very well on the PS5 compared to with PS4. The extra power gives it kind of that extra edge. Doom Eternal, I don't know if Darrell's played it yet, but Doom Eternal looks absolutely gorgeous and runs 10 times better on the PS5.
I dig it. So I think that, and again, I'm coming from a place of ignorance because I have not used the Series X yet. But I think that what would sway me, if you're interested in the haptic feedbacks and then the use of the controller on some of these third-party games, obviously, I believe you when you say that the Series X is more powerful. Phil Spencer said that after the Xbox One, they didn't ever want to come out with less power than their competitor again. So I believe that's going to be their position from now on. So if graphics and stability is the way you want to go for it. But I think that what's going to sway, at least it would sway me, and what's worth checking out is third-party games that really use the DualSense. And I'll use Plague Tale: Innocence as an example. If you have the option of something that looks a little better or feels different, I personally am inclined to choose feels different. I don't know how much of that is just because that's the new thing, or if it's because I truly enjoy the experience. But I've been playing through that game, and you were talking about the footsteps with Ratchet. So in a Plague Tale, you can you can feel the rats scurrying around from left to right, up and down with your controller. I'm actually kind of writing down notes because I want to do a deep dive or at least some sort of review on that game. And it's crazy because throughout the game, my controller is just going nonstop. Just and then all of a sudden, I get to one level where it's like there's rats everywhere and it doesn't do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh. I immediately noticed it. I was like, oh wow, they forgot to. Something's wrong there. Like I don't know what happened. I don't know if maybe just the console just didn't trigger, or if it was like actually they didn't patch the haptics in this one little section. But I was like, man, that is a noticeable difference to have it, that stimulation, and then to not have it. And Resident Evil Village, that was another one. The section with the giant. CJ, did you play? You haven't played Village yet, have you?
No, I'm still working through 7.
Okay, so there is a particular enemy that chases you around in a sequence where you do not have any weapons, so you have to hide from it. And there's a part where you can't see it anymore, but you can feel it sliding across the room ever so faintly as it gets farther and farther away from you. So like, even though you can't see the enemy, you can feel how far away he is based on the haptic feedback. And I thought for survival horror, that is, it sold me so hard. I was like, dude, this right here is the next level of intensity with horror games, because now, and even not so much horror games, but games where you're going to have to be in the dark, like there is going to be another sense that you can use now while interacting with video games. And it's done so well. Like, I think the Switch, was kind of onto something with what they call 3D rumble. And I think this is the evolution of that. So I really hope Xbox jumps on and releases a controller with haptics, so that you can experience that on all platforms. Because to me, that is, but again, I've said this before on the show, I'm a Rumble fan. Like, I think that Rumble is essential. So I think that playing with mouse and keyboard, that one of the first things I noticed is like, well, there's no feedback. There's nothing, like one of the best things in a game is when you pop somebody with a headshot and you feel a little rumble in your controller. Like, it adds to the that connection of bullet and target. It adds to the feeling of a game. So there's some games like first person shooters where you play the game and it's like, man, this sounds kind of flat. It just doesn't feel that good to shoot, to kill things. And then you play Call of Duty and you're like, God, this feels right. And it's not the aim assist, it's not the sound design, it's not just the rumble. It's like all those things together that create this experience. And so I would say Call of Duty, Resident Evil 8, A Plague Tale Innocence. Obviously, the first parties are going to use it. So, for me, as I stumble across and play games that actually use the haptics, I'll come on the show and tell everybody. And I was the same way about the light bar with the PS4. When you everybody, God, it was so annoying. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, there's this light on my controller. It drives me crazy." And I'm like, dude, the light changes color based on the damage you take. So you don't even need a HUD anymore, because you can see your life bar based on the illumination of your controller, And for me, like, getting less HUD on the screen and then telling you what's happening based on the experience is where gaming is going to get better. Like, graphics are great, but if graphics didn't, they're really not, like, they're not making the jumps that they used to make, Now, I know you said, playing a Series X on a really good TV is the next big jump. But realistically, like, things are only going to look so good. One day we're going to hit a point where it's like, my eyes can't even tell the difference anymore based on how good this looks. Yeah. So I think tapping into other senses is the way that we progress forward. Personally, I could be completely wrong, but I think that stuff like that is cool. Like Dead Space is one of my favorite games. And one of the things I always talk about is how you didn't have a HUD, you had your spine lit up, and that was your health bars. You could monitor your health based on the illumination of your spine. And then when you raised your gun to aim down sights, there was a hologram that would tell you how much ammo you had on there. That was such smart game design, because it got everything else off the screen for you. And I think that that's pretty much, in my opinion, what the controllers are doing now, and I think that the games that utilize that are it takes something that doesn't just look good and turns it into the experience. So that's me.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And just to pick up on it, like I'm not trying to. It's a strange situation because like I'm having both is wonderful, and like I know that there's people that had both from the beginning, and lucky them, or earlier or whatever. And in the back of my mind, part of the reason I didn't get one is that because it was never an issue of getting one through the stores because that was never going to happen here anyway, and it's probably not going to happen for a year. So there's always been stock here if you're prepared to buy from a scalper. So it's not a question of well you can't get one. You just have to go that way if you want, but. I delayed it because I did want to spend more time on the Xbox, and I knew if I had both, it would be very, very hard to divide time. And also because on both sides there isn't a lot of games. So coming at it, 7 months later or whatever, it's been wonderful because I picked up what was Returnal, Demon Souls, Sackboy, both the Spider-Mans. There's a few whatever free games, as you say, that upgraded from PS4 or something, and I ended up with. I think I probably bought like 6 games. So I ended up with a library of like, not including spam, of probably like 25 games or something because of all these free upgrades. So there's definitely stuff to play, which I thought was good. And probably one of the biggest things, and again, because I'd seen it before on the other system, it didn't wow me as much, but the HDR and I think and the lighting, in particular on the PS5, it's such a big step up from the Pro. And I remember playing the Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and you start off in the snow section. And the night I got that Xbox, and I literally just put the controller down and looked at the snow for 20 minutes because it was just the lighting was unbelievable. And I've already sensed that in PlayStation, particularly in Returnal. Like I've only spent a couple of hours in there, but it's a much darker game. But even that, the lighting in Ratchet, when I don't know if you've all played that, but as you get into that, whatever the city's called there, and there's such hustle and bustle, and it's just so clear what you can see. And then even on the flip side, the Final Fantasy 14, which by nature an MMO is not supposed to look good, and the text is so much easier to read. That's one of the big advantages of HDR is the white versus the black, and actually reading text it sort of pops, so it's much easier, particularly if your eyesight's a bit whatever. So there are definitely a lot of positives, and I do look forward to spending more time. The only other thing I'd like, if you don't mind indulging me a little here, is the pricing of games.
Okay.
So this isn't a big issue for Americans. So sorry, I don't have any tips or help here. But one of the things I had already decided when I made the step to get one is that I would buy all the exclusives straight at the same time. That's the advantage of waiting, I suppose, and putting money aside for it. And so I could move between them and see them. But I didn't factor in that I would end up with a digital console. I was sort of in the back of my mind thought I would go with this, but in the end, it's just not financially responsible to make that move, I think. So I went with the digital. Most of my stuff is digital anyway, but of course, that means I'm now locked into buying games off the store. And the Australian store for PlayStation, and I've had this problem for some time, the regional store pricings on PlayStation are out of control, and they have been since the PS4 mid PS4 generation. It used to be a situation where you could buy on the Canadian store and you'd pay like next to nothing. The games were in American dollar price, so a $30 American game would be $30 Canadian, and $30 Canadian is a lot less than $30 American, especially 3 or 4 years ago. So the games were like nothing, and then Sony corrected that, and so now the parity is the same or whatever. But with the Australian store, and I have a feeling for most of the European stores, they're selling these games for like 115 Australian, which is about 105 or 103 American dollars. Yet the same game is for sale on the American store, full price for between 60 and 70-ish dollars. So there's about a $30 US per game discrepancy here, which I don't understand why. It's got nothing to do with sales. And the current, just to illustrate the point, and there will be time if you're listening to this and you want to buy some PS5 games, the current sale, I think that runs through to the 19th or 20th of August, it's across the world. The percentage discounts are about the same on PlayStation 5 games, but to buy those 5 or 6 launch, or whatever, loosely launched games or whatever, the main games for PS5, you will save, I saved about 60 American dollars buying them all on the American store versus buying them on the Australian, which is one full game. So you basically pay for 5. And now I can't believe that. Now going forward, I assume that's going to be the same. So if you are playing on that system and you're outside of America, then I think you should take advantage of Sony here. I have no problem with this at all because I think it's wrong. that they're doing this. And if you have to buy digital, don't necessarily just go and pay whatever they want in your region if it's astronomical. And I mean, Ratchet was $140 in the Australian store, which is just disgusting, when it was like 69 or something in the US store. So, you know, $50 or $60 difference in one game. It's crazy.
That's insane that
It
you
is.
guys have
It's
that
very
that you pay that tax on games.
No,
Like,
it's
I know
not the tax. It's not. That's a common misconception, because these games are being sold in the store for you know, the same price as America in conversion. So this is a tax that Sony's putting on. It's not a game tax.
Really?
Yes, yeah. That there is a
Well,
tax here,
I know
but
it.
not
I know.
that
Well, in
percentage.
Canada, it's just the conversion rate, because
Yeah.
Corey pays about 70 per new release for when it was PS. He paid about $10 to $20 more per game. So like their PS5 games are $90 compared to 70 here in the US.
Yeah,
And that's how much they are when you go to GameStop too. The same price.
yeah.
So he's not paying any difference. It's
That's fair.
just Sony doing the conversion.
Hmm.
But to do what they do to you guys is like the tariff and all that, and add it all in, and it's just kind of not fair.
No. And I can't, unfortunately, as I said, it doesn't help Americans. And I always tread carefully, because it's okay. Sometimes I buy games before I own the system if the price is good, because I know I'm going to get it or whatever. And
I do the same thing too. I stocked up on PS5 games before I had my PS5.
Exactly. And this could, if you think you are going to get one in the next month or two, I don't know how often these go on sale, but the sale is pretty good. Not for everything. God Awful is not for sale, which is surprising. You have to still pay full price. And the Final Fantasy VII is still full price. Probably not surprising. But the others all, you can save sizable money or whatever. And it's still very easy to region switch on the system. It's not difficult at all. So having alternate accounts for that purpose, it's quite easy. Although I must ask you both, like the UI, like I know you've mumbled, but let's be honest, it's a fucking nightmare. You know, you get a fucking toddler with a fucking crayon could have done a better job than Sony did with that.
You get used to it, and honestly, like I like it better than the PS4 one, because at least they changed something. Like, I got used to it. I don't like how many clicks you have to do things. I think it's like astronomically ridiculous how many times I have to go into my name and then go into my trophies and then click on the friggin' list. It's like
I don't even want to look at the list. It's so bad. They're saying in the next update they're fixing all that, but the thing is, this is like, I mean,
they're not going to fix everything. They're just going to make it friggin' vertical, because everyone pissed it's horizontal.
Yeah, but that's huge.
I actually like that it's horizontal, because you can scroll quickly through it and then just go back to playing.
You can't see anything though. Most of the descriptions and everything are friggin'
are cut off. Yeah, you have to actually click in. You got to click in. Yeah,
it's way too convoluted. Like my initial impressions of it were like, man, this is beautiful. This is awesome. And then like you start using it and you start seeing that, like, man, this is actually not. It's overly complicated, like for no reason. And they changed. So okay, all of my aggravations with the Xbox with the Xbox One's OS, like not the most recent one, but like the one before, where things were just kind of buried between one or two extra button clicks, opposed to the Xbox 360. It's like PlayStation was like, hey, let's do that. And then the main page is like a freaking advertisement.
Yeah.
Like whatever they want you to see, and that frustrates the crap out of me. Like I want it to either be nothing, or I want it to be what I choose, not what they choose for me, kind of thing.
It grabs your attention, because it's like, hey, it doesn't just put what they want you to see. Actually, usually it revolves around games you own. Like it actually does tailor it to the things that you own, which I think is pretty cool. I wish that Explore page would be like your friends and what your friends are up to, and that was the first thing you saw. You can see what's everyone playing right now. Like, CJ just unlocked a bunch of trophies in this. Cool, I might pick that up. Like, I don't know. Like, I do like the way the store is now. I think they fixed the store considerably compared to the PS4 store.
Yeah, like the store is good. It was better. It's not great, but
the sales tab is cool. The upgrade to PS5 tab is amazing, because you can see what games are upgraded, and I think that's really cool. At a glance, you can just see, these ones are all either free. Yeah. All right, let's bust out all my discs and see if they work.
And it's built into the OS this time versus running an app, so it doesn't slow down.
No, it doesn't jank. It's all fuck. Yeah. Jesus God, I couldn't deal with the store. before.
PS Now is better too because it's built in. So it's
integrated,
like,
yeah. So PS Now runs smooth and it runs quick.
Yeah.
Even when you're streaming, I feel like it runs quicker.
Yeah, but
a lot quicker.
I'll just pick up on that point again because I play differently to both of you. So this isn't something you've probably even realized yet. Maybe Darrell, you have because you play a few regional stacks sometimes. But there's fundamental flaws in that store, and one of them, of course, is the fact that you download the PS5 version and it stacks the other stacks of the game underneath the same tile. Yeah, which is a nightmare.
That's changing in the new update.
Well,
that's changing.
They're
separated them.
Why not? Why not fix your system? But
I agree. That was a really stupid way of doing it.
So
we're making fun of freaking Xbox for their smart delivery, and then it's like, wow, that's actually really smart.
And I complained about that like a few weeks ago on the show, CJ. Like, I said something about like Ninja Gaiden.
Oh yeah, I'm not.
And I kept clicking on the third game because I couldn't figure out where the other two were.
Yeah.
And then I figured out you have to click on the little dot thing, and then it changes whatever version you're playing. And that's cool enough because it keeps everything consolidated under one tab, which I do kind of like. So I'm kind of pissed that they are separating it because now it's just going to create more clutter on my screen, which is like, it was creating less clutter. I wish they would give you options to just pick what you want to do. Like, let me customize it the way I want to customize it. Bring back themes. Like, I like themes. I like paying for them if they're worth paying for, or designing my own. Like,
yeah, well, I'm sure there's more that will come out in the.
I don't know. They seem like they're kind of keeping. They seem like they're doing what Nintendo's doing with the Switch, and they're keeping the interface very even keel and very like not convoluted because it'll fuck with like the running of the system. I don't think the PS5 will happen, but I know that's why the Switch never got any kind of UI updates or any kind of themes, because if you run a theme on that and try to run a game, it will like crash it. Because it's barely running the games that's running anyway.
I think it's just, and it's been my hesitance with the system the whole way along, is that they've really, they said, we believe in generations, which is, gaming is not true, but in the system, perhaps it is, because they didn't, the OS is so different. Like it hasn't grandfathered people in from the PS4 one at all. It's a totally new system. And, whatever you think of the Xbox One, they iterated on it, but they didn't really change it. So if you knew how to use the Xbox One, interface, you know how to use the Series X, or whatever. Whereas this PlayStation, it's completely different. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. It took me ages to get out of a game to start with.
But that's every single iteration of PlayStation, though. Not to cut you off.
I understand.
Like, that's every single console they've ever made, or any device they've made. They've always iterated on the interface. Never keep the interface the same. Never. Like, you look from generation to generation, it's always changed. Like, you had that shitty UI in PS3 that was absolute garbage, where the store looked like you fucking opened a URL in the friggin' like dial-up internet. It was horrible.
Well, there's change for good and change for,
beyond that,
unnecessary. And I think it probably walks a fine line. Like, some of the trophy stuff is good with the little guides. Like, I haven't used them, but I can see there's definite, and I think it will improve or whatever else. The only thing I'll say as well, two things, because I have one question for you. It might be my ignorance in not realizing, but I was talking to Jordan the other day, or he made a comment the other day when we were playing, or maybe in the Discord, I forget. And he said a few months ago, he accidentally bought Ratchet and Clank on the store. And when he was finishing a game, he'd had a few drinks or whatever, and he somehow got in there and accidentally bought it. And at the time, I thought he was taking the piss. I'm like, how do you accidentally buy a game? And then, and I thought, and then I spoke to him, and he's like, yeah, no, it was good. They refunded it. But he was for real. And I was like, that's so weird. But it's so convoluted that, like, I have my PayPal connected to my account. I was in the store somehow the other day, because it's not that streamlined, whatever you say. And I was looking at Godfall, and I didn't realize within like 3 clicks, and admittedly, I'm so used to playing on different controllers on the Xbox, I was pushing potentially the wrong button. But I had that thing in my cart ready to be sold to me, basically, without even realizing from the game, because I clicked on this link. And so it's almost so streamlined that you don't even know what's going on half the time. And I think, I don't know, again, I don't know how deeply you've dug into that, but I suddenly saw how that could happen. And I was like, wow, that's, it's like a casino. Good on them for achieving that or whatever else. But my one gripe to you, now this maybe I don't understand how the system works. When I want to turn the fucker off, I have to go to my profile, I have to log out, and then I have to turn it off. Is that correct?
No. You go you hit the PlayStation button, you go all the way over to your power, and then you just turn it off.
So you don't have to log out and then turn it off.
No. There's a power button all at the end, dude.
And then I thought the rest mode situation was fixed, and I was I've been leaving it in rest mode, and someone said, "Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you." So is that still a dicey issue to be leaving it?
I've had mine at rest mode ever since I got it. I've
Yeah.
never had an issue.
Yeah, I thought it had been fixed. So
Just wait until that one day where it doesn't turn on, Darrell.
yeah,
I didn't even know that was a thing.
no. Well, the hardest thing for me at the moment is that because with the quick resume on the Xbox, I forget to save because I don't need to save. You know, the game is always there.
Put it in
when I'm
rest,
moving,
you always put it in rest mode. That's why. Like we're PlayStation. I mean,
Well, no,
rest mode.
yeah, but
on
you have
the
to save your
Xbox,
game
you
on
can do multiple
PlayStation.
games.
Yeah, that's right. Because PlayStation, if you quit the game and you didn't save, you lose all your progress.
Yeah, I feel like the system's powerful enough to run multiple applications at the same time, but I feel like Sony's not doing that yet. Because why would they have a switcher menu? If
It's set up to do it. They're just
it's
not
set up.
doing it.
Yeah, it's set up to do it. They're just not executing it yet.
They're just,
I don't think they're gonna be able to do 8 things, but I think you're gonna be able to play 2 or 3 things at the same time. Like,
yeah. They're just quality of life things. And I think like a lot of what I, bitched about in the negative are things that wouldn't affect casual gamers at all. And that's the other thing I've thought from the whole time this PS5's been around. It's definitely catering to casual gamers. And I mean, charging what they are for the games, it's probably the best way to do it now because, no, it is, Joe. You laugh, but, I'm not, you're not going to buy thousands of games. Well, I'm not going to be buying what I used to buy on that system anymore because of a lot of these little things. And at the end of the day, who cares if blah, blah, blah from Australia doesn't blow shitloads on the store because everybody else is buying, these games at this price and it's, they're going to make way more from that. And that's the feeling I've had from Sony the whole way along. There's been no interest in grandfathering players that were high volume players on that system at all.
I mean, how?
Joe. Whether they give some sort of treatment into it, or whether they just keep shit the same, so you know how it works, or give you the option to do that. It's a totally clean slate, as you say, but I think they're going to realize, or if they aren't already, and I know that they lost 1 million subscribers to PS Now or PlayStation Plus, and people fucked that over with COVID, but that's not true either. But I think there will be this shift from people, probably our higher volume gamers that want performance. They want all this stuff, and they're just going to make this their secondary console because for the exclusives. And I think, like to wrap up this long-winded bullshit or whatever, I do think that the ironic thing is that Sony will need the exclusives now more than ever in this generation, because really that's all they're going to have.
I want to piggyback on that because I don't disagree with you with the for catering to the casual gamer, because even just the little things that I used to do, with, and I don't game near as hard as you do, nor do I switch the regions as often as you do, but like I have found several complications just with the little bit of dabbling that I do, because I've got my European account and I'll get games that way. And then I'll try to jump back and forth and switching the versions, not knowing which one I'm playing because it's not that obvious. Granted, again, it's probably a very minority, thing. But then the quality, and I know it'll get better over time, but the longer I use the system, the more I get irritated with, because I swap back and forth between so many consoles. Like I played my PS4 in my bedroom last night. I've been playing the Xbox 360 downstairs in the living room. And it's like every single one of them does something really well. And then here I am playing the modern version. I'm like, why did you go backwards? Like, why are we? But they did that. There was issues with the PS4 when it first came out. Like it first came out. And it's like, why are we doing like some of these things? Like we had themes on the PS3, then we get the PS4 and you can't do themes. Like it's dumb, and it's really not detrimental to enjoying video games. But in the same respect, it's like now here we are again. This is the third time. I'm like, what are we doing? Like why? I don't understand. And Xbox did the same thing. The 360's Blade UI, in my opinion, was the best one. But even the current 360 UI is still, in my mind, better than the Xbox Ones. I don't have experience with the Series X, but they said they weren't changing it that much. But I just don't understand like what these guys are thinking. I'm like, do you use this thing every day? Because if you use it every day, there's certain one button prompts that should never change. Like if I want to look at any of my achievements or trophies, it should be the simplest of applications. If I want to put my console in rest mode, it should be the simplest of applications.
Why can't I just hold the button anymore to do it?
I know. Like, why would you go backwards on that?
Yeah.
You know what it says to me? It says that a different group of people created this UI than did the last UI.
Yeah. I think.
So, but
look, I don't want to come across as negative because there'll be people there going, "Oh, look."
No, I don't think you were. I don't think you were attempting to. I think you were just voicing your opinion on what you purchased. And when you go and you talk about casual gamer, and I mean, yeah, people who buy consoles are casual gamers. They are, like, in a sense, that's what they are. I mean, you could be hardcore by buying a million games, but if you're not playing on PC in 2021, you're considered a casual gamer.
Yeah.
But then I can come back at a PC player, and I'm like, well, what the fuck are you playing? You're playing an MMO, or you're playing this and that and the other. You're not playing any real games because they don't come to PC right away anyway. You have to buy a console to play things right away. Like if you want to play like the latest AAA like mega game, they're not coming to PC right away. They're always getting ported there. So like you have to buy a console to play things right away. And everyone says, well, why are things so much cheaper on the PC? Because you have to wait to play them. So like they already sold their millions and millions of copies on PS4, and I don't like what Sony's doing either with the PC stuff. I think it's kind of fucked up that they're like, hey, like, that game you bought 5 years ago and now it's on PC. Well, you got to buy it again, and you got to pay full price for it. Like you couldn't just charge a PC price for it. Like be nice. No, it's Sony. Fuck you. You got to spend $70 again for it, or $60 again for it. No one's paying $60 to play Days Gone on a PC, or $40.
No.
Nobody played that to play. Nobody paid that shit to play it on PS4.
You say that, and today I'm in a part of this group on Facebook that's called the Horror Collective.
I'm sorry.
And people were like picking up. They were posted like, "Yep, just picked up Days Gone on sale for $40." So stoked about this today.
Yeah.
Which that game was great. I don't care what you say.
It is a great game. It is, but no one. It got lost in the shuffle and no one cared. But to go back to like what CJ was saying about it being like the second-rate console and the Xbox is more powerful, it can be as powerful as it wants, but it still suffers from the same problem it did last generation. It has nothing to play on it, and until it does, it's never going to be the better console.
No,
like if you have nothing to play in your console, what is your console? It's just a brick, just a plastic piece of plastic that's useless. It sits in the corner. It's like Switch sometimes. It's like Switch. Like I would say it's Switch like 60% of its life cycle. Yeah. There's not really a lot of stuff to play on it if you're not an avid gamer, an avid Nintendo gamer. If like you play a lot of third-party games like Darrell does, and you don't really care about Mario and Zelda and all that shit, a Switch is a pretty bad purchase for you, bro. Like you're not gonna find stuff that's
you're
for
not
you.
Wrong.
And like I get you want to play the Resident Evil ports, and that's really why you picked it up. You want to see how it played in handheld, and they look gorgeous, and they'll look even more gorgeous on the Switch, like the OLED model. But like again. Like, we talk about how, like, consoles take, 1 step forward and 10 steps back. I feel like Nintendo's doing the same thing. They're so hot right now. They should have just released a full-blown, like, iteration. But not to go on a tangent about that. CJ, I think you liked your PS5 more than you let on. I think it's growing on you. I think you need to spend some more time with it.
Yeah, no,
but I understand some of your grievances with it. I don't understand how the fuck they released a console in 2021 and it doesn't have more than a terabyte of hard drive space.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, to preface that out, like I got it on Tuesday. I haven't played the Xbox since, so like there's a flip side. But I will give this out to anybody like this because I know like people go, I buy it for these games or whatever else, and like I bought the Xbox One solely for Forza Horizon 4. Yeah, I played other things after, but that. For a long time, that's all I played on it. And ironically, the tipping of my hand for the PlayStation 5, and it does show you how powerful a good game and potentially a good trophy list can be in these sales. The thing that twisted my arm was the Final Fantasy 14 port. Obviously, it looks way better, but also a really good trophy list, probably the best trophy list if you're into, seriously exploring the game and getting full value. And so literally, if I play nothing else but that, on that game, it'll be on that system, it'll be a positive for me. So
I really want to start playing Final Fantasy 14. Like you and JT are like, oh man, this game's so good. But I feel like if I'm gonna play it, like,
just like don't make excuses. No, don't be like Darrell. Don't be like me.
Don't be like Darrell.
I
feel like if I make this leap, I'm making a leap of faith here, and it's like this is a journey now.
Yeah,
like, I'm not gonna be able to just like. half-ass this. I'm gonna have to get a subscription and actually play this every day.
Yes.
And then everything else is gonna go on the back burner. And am I willing to do that? No, I'm
Yes.
not.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
No.
You got 1 billion hours in Fire Emblem Three Houses. You'll enjoy this. I'm telling you. CJ, I know we went deep into the minutia of the PlayStation, but what else have you been playing?
Yeah, so on the PlayStation, well, as I said, Ratchet and Clank, which was great, or whatever else. I played 2 hours or 2 hours ish of Returnal. The game is hard for a low skill gamer, but it's not well, it may be cheap later on, and I haven't got that far, but I don't think it's cheap. It's definitely my fault when I die, and I do like the loop of it as well, coming from a gamer that doesn't play those type of games. I think it was good. I was warned that it would be too hard for me, so it's my own fault by multiple people. But it's fun. It's fun to chip away at. I did, under your suggestion, play a little of the Plague's Tale. Played the first 3 or 4 chapters last night, and the game. I remember the game on the PS4 looked really good, and it does. It looks stunning. The lighting in that game. You actually have to bring the lighting back a bit because it's so bright and vibrant, or whatever else. It's wonderful, and what you said about the controls. And then, as I alluded to, Final Fantasy 14, and I don't want to bend your ear, but one of the big problems with that original trophy list in that game, and I know you like trophy lists, it doesn't matter, but in an MMO, part of playing the game is the story, of course, but that's a very small part often. It's just basically doing everything or doing the in-game achievements. So to have a good list, it's sort of, maybe what motivates you, a bit like a racing game. Like, why would you just keep playing it? Why do 50 laps? What's the point? If there's an external, reasoning, I suppose. And they've really worked that list. It's fantastic now. Not only have they added the DLC expansions, put some trophies there, but they've upped the requirements to like 3,000 fates. 3 lifting characters, 3 different classes to level 80, and these are like hundreds of hour commitments, which is exactly what a game like this wants. But then it hasn't all been cheap. Like, they've added a whole lot of trophies to doing all this side content that many people will have done in the past, but a lot of people would never touch that because it's not necessarily on the main story or even for leveling. So now you get a trophy for completing this part of the game and these raids and things. But then on the flip side, they've also added a series of rewards for completing them on the Savage difficulty. And like, to give you an idea, there's no way you're going to be boosting that Savage difficulty. You'd need 8 really good players, probably a couple on PC, just because of the speed required on hitting the hotkeys. Very challenging on console, just by nature. So having a really good, team that knows what they're doing and still investing 10 to 12 hours in each one of what is basically a 15-minute, fight to actually really learn the mechanics. So to have a list that's that representative, I think, and it came from Square, obviously, I think that's really exciting because Square didn't need to do that. They could have ported the same list or not even ported a list at all, but they've really gone in and put some thought and time into it. And I think, I know the Final Fantasy VII Remake list is not bad either. There's a little bit of dodginess there, but not bad. But to show that a company like that, that list doesn't happen by accident, I think is very exciting for what they will do in the future with this crossover between, and I know the PS5 is doing this a bit with their trophy cards and things, but it's making it more important. And for a game that's that big, that needs external rewards as well to show your progress in these things, I think it's really great. So that's I know I'm pushing it hard, but I was quite amazed by that list and by the game and the port itself. A bit like I said to you, Darrell, the other night, I think not all ports into this next gen are even. I think the Control port was garbage. Like, game is great. I think the port was garbage to next gen, but the Plague's Tale, really good port. Final Fantasy, really good port. I look forward to finding more good ports or whatever in amongst the others.
Awesome. You got anything else you want to share?
That's it. Shoot me now.
Hey, that one turned into some good combo though. So, and I really lean on your opinion too, because you're the only one of us who has a Series X. Our other Xbox fans just went straight PC, and so for me, I'm experiencing some of those games through PC and xCloud, but I don't have the console in house. And I'm sticking to my guns on this one. There's not a game yet that's like making me like, oh, gotta buy it. So when the time comes, I'll get one. I've owned every Xbox, so I'm not gonna not own one. But it might just be a little bit later down the road. So for me, I played a lot of spam this week, a lot of 15-minute spam. I want to give a shout out to Tokyo Run, an endless runner. Like you sent me that, you sent that message to me, and I'm like, oh, dude, what is this? When does this come out? And then like the next day, it's like it comes out. So I get home from work. I already pre-bought that game and some other ones, and I'm waiting on my family to get home from karate and from grocery shopping. So I go, I turn on my console. I bought something else too. I bought a bunch of spam games and bought something else. I was like, cue that up to download, go take a shower, come back. They're not here yet. So I put on Tokyo Run and I just ran through and got all the trophies. All 5-10 minutes of just an endless runner. You're getting coins like Sonic. You're dodging these giant sumo wrestlers.
That's the same company that did Funky Truck the other week you played too.
Okay. I got that platinum while we were on the show that night. So that was awesome. So, and it was like $1.50 or something like that American. So
oh man, you're killing me. I'm mad by this.
just do it, man. Just do it and get you some trophies. Enjoy yourself. Treat yourself.
Yeah.
And so I did that one, and then I was like, man, I was hawking your profile on PSN Profiles. And I was like,
that's a dangerous hole, isn't it?
It is.
I was thinking before you started, like the Patreon and, I mean, I have probably derailed so many people's lives from my degeneracy, and they're paying so much to their therapist to try and right their wrongs, that I've helped them corrupt, that they could easily afford $1, to salute us for the damage we've caused.
100%.
It's a lot cheaper than your psychologist that you're going to need after this. So,
well, I think that your contributions to the delinquency of these wholesome console AAA gamers has been great. And so I'm like, oh, okay, CJ beat a game in 32 seconds. So I sent a message in our group when I discovered that you had the PS5. I'm like, holy crap! Not only did he get a PS5, but he's auto popping platinums. Yeah. And you're like, oh, no auto popping here.
Not for that price. I'm playing my Spider-Man for that price, I can tell you.
Well, so I'm like, how did you beat a game? How did you get a platinum in Legends of Talia in 32 seconds?
You've done that game, haven't you?
Well, I did.
Oh, good.
After I saw that you did it. So I was like, oh, well, I'm getting that. So I picked it up. I popped the platinum in 32 seconds. I was like, no freaking way. This is a voluptuous character visual novel that you go to the settings, turn everything up to full blast, and hit skip one time. You hit R1 one time, and then boom, it just burns through the game and gets all the trophies for you.
It's like $2 and 2 stacks. You get the PS4.
Yes. So I did it twice. 2 different days though, because I was trying to space out my spam.
Do you reckon you get any legit points for that?
I mean, if Tricky did it, yes. If Tricky did it, yeah, there'd be legit points. So then you sent me a message a while back. You sent the group a message of Spectre Woods. You had someone send that to you. And I was like, you know what? Now's the time. I need to go ahead and get my 49-cent platinum.
Oh, God.
That game is, and I, when I say it's terrible, I mean, it is terrible. But someone made that game. And it got me thinking, and this is something I want to put out there. It doesn't have to be done anytime soon. But as the Loot Bros podcast, there is no reason in the world why we shouldn't come together, create a game, exploit the trophy and achievement system, and then put that on the store. There's no reason.
Why not?
We should do it. We should. I've got some ideas. We should come together, and we should create a game. And we exploit the trophies, and we put it out there, and we sell it to our audience, and make no money but get easy trophies. We can be legends.
I think call it cheat and tricky.
we could do that and get it on the Switch or the Xbox, but we need to pony up $25K to get it on the store for PlayStation. Isn't that what it costs?
I think that's to be featured.
Oh, well, the Loot Bros.
There you go. But we got to figure that out. And if we got any listeners who like to design assets, games, program games, whatever, you want to be a part of this endeavor, the delinquency, spreading the good word, as they say. So I did that one. I knocked out some more of those breakthrough gaming bowling stories. They're getting lazy. They're not even putting their scripture in the games anymore.
Oh, wow.
getting a little perturbed. I got a couple of platinums in those. And then I guess I'll get it.
Are they still doing one a week? Like every week?
I don't know, man. I bought a couple of them. I kind of buy everything in batches. So I'll see them. I'll buy 3 or 4 and I'll just pop one or so. What I try to do is this. When I'm up in the mornings before work, I try to spam a little bit, get myself kind of woke up, get a few trophies in, a platinum or 10, whatever, and then go to work. And then when I come home in the evenings and I have some time to play, I try to play like actual real games. So I hear that if you start, your day off with spam, a spam a day keeps the doctor away.
It's a fine line, though. Only one.
Or 10, but like anything more than that, I mean, there's serious cases of you can over spam.
You can, and then that leads to blindness, as we all know.
That's right.
Our mothers were right on that. Don't
shake it more than twice. You're playing with it. Pretty sure that's the same thing with spam. So I've been playing more Plague Tale. I'm not going to beat on that drum too much harder. I'm at the end of the game now. I'm very much enjoying it. I've been playing a lot of wrestling. So I have just really, really, really wanted to play the SmackDown versus Raw games on Xbox 360, and I just don't have them anymore. I made a really bad life decision a while back and sold all my 360 stuff. And now, 100 games at a time, I've been buying them back. So I've been really jonesing to play some 2000. I think I've got all the achievements I can get in 2007 right now. Like, I think that like everything that's not online. I could be wrong. I got to go back and check. But 2008, 2009, 2010, 100% 2011. So like I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back, play some wrestling, get some achievements. I didn't have any of them in the house, so I did the next best thing, and I bought Retromania Wrestling. Which I don't know that it's worth the money. Like, it's a $30 game US. It's kind of modeled off of the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, 16-ish bit. I guess that's what you'd call it. The 2D art style of wrestling games. It's a simple game enough, but like there's not a lot of clear instruction on what button combinations cause what moves. There's no like actual quote, like you did your finisher. Like a little while ago, I'm playing the game while you guys were talking. I didn't want to interrupt, but I got like 7 or 8 trophies, and it's like I got a trophy for doing 3 finishers in a match, and I don't even know how I did it. Like I'm over here hitting the grab button. I'm just doing stuff. So it really does lack direction as far as like what moves are what, and it has like an auto grapple feature. And I don't love that, but I've got it on, and you kind of just walk into the character and it'll grab them. So I don't know. It's not love, but it's a wrestling game, and I'm enjoying myself. I'm about 80% done with it. I'm kind of doing the grindier trophies now. But then what I did was I owned WWE 2K20, but it was busted and janky and broken when I bought it. So I never really put any time into it. So I downloaded it on my PS4, stuck my PS4 back in my bedroom last night. And after a really long, rough week of work, I just laid in the bed and played wrestling all evening. Like I came home last night, fed everybody. My wife worked, she had a long day too. So we're like, you know what? Boom, let's go. We got in the bed and, I just played wrestling while she watched trashy TV. So
did you get all the trophies in like 2K15, 16?
No, because I'll be honest, man, I didn't enjoy those games. Like I got some.
One of them's on PlayStation Now. Actually, 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 of them on there, and I own a few of them as well. But like, they don't control like the SmackDown versus Raw games did, and it's so frustrating, and I want to do like a Super Loot Bros where we actually sit down and we just do a legit wrestling deep, like a dive into these games, so we don't kill. Like eventually, CJ and Kalai are gonna hang themselves, listening to us talk about this stuff. But like, and Zack can join in too because he's played all these games. Like the older wrestling games controlled so much better when you had a dedicated reversal for grapple and reversal for strike, in my opinion, was the best control schemes. And then when you have your dedicated grapple button, and if you hold a shoulder button while you're grappling or punching, you do a stronger version of it. To me, that was the perfect wrestling control scheme. Every game changes the formula unnecessarily. They swap buttons around, and it drives me freaking nuts. And I'm playing 2K20, and I'm like, why is triangle the reversal button? That makes no sense. Triangle should be your finisher button, if anything.
Exactly.
It's just so stupid. It makes me want to scream when I'm playing these games. I'm like, this is supposed to be fun, and you're ruining it. Now, I will say this. 2K20 has a lot of accessibility options. And so you can dial it in to make it more of an arcadey experience. So I will say, out of all of the ladder of the 2K, from 2K12 to 2K20, I think 2K19 is probably the best controlling of the games, but 2K20, it has the most accessibility stuff in it to where you can essentially turn it down to make it more of an arcadey experience, and I really am enjoying myself. So I'm playing through the campaign right now, which is pretty good.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. To me, 2K19 was the best one out of the recent ones.
I agree. 2K19
had the best roster, played well,
and
it was
smooth. It was buttery smooth. It actually had like the mode where you could actually like make the computer versus computer, and the matches wouldn't be all janky.
Yeah.
Dude, I would love to have a Super Loot Bros and just talk about wrestling games. It'd be fun. It'd be fun.
We'll do it 100%. And one of the things I love too is like with the with wrestling, like the universe mode. So in 2011, I would play through years worth of universe mode.
Me too.
Just because it was so fun. It would matchups and rivalries and pay-per-views, and it was just like, man,
it's like control. It's like having your dream. It's like instead of having a notebook next to you, like when you were a kid and you're writing down all your matches and what you would do on like 64, like it does it all for you.
Yep.
And I was like, this is the best mode ever. My friends and I would sit there and we do drafts. Like no lie, I'd put all the names in a name generator and I would do an actual draft.
That's pretty cool.
Like my friends and I dedicated time to these games. I actually was joking with Corey because Corey could be my color commentary because he knows nothing about wrestling. So like we were gonna do Twitch stream. We were gonna start Twitch streaming.
Oh, bro, that's a great idea.
And I was gonna do like the hard I was gonna be the main commentator,
play by play, and he'll be
play by play, and he was gonna be color. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
See, I would love to do that with CJ and Kalai, but like obviously them not being wrestling fans and or like know what's going on, have people like that commentate that's like no interest at all. So, but dude, we talked about that in early Loot Bros stuff when we were streaming all of our episodes. But it's so hard to stream a WWE game because they freaking strike you for everything.
So
do they really?
Yeah, they're bad.
Why?
Because everything's copyrighted and trademarked, and
I'm so tired of hearing that
what
crap.
we need more wrestling games, but we need them to be a little more generic, And that's what I like about Retromania is like, it's got like a lot of these really popular independent wrestlers and guys who used to be in WWE, but I want that mixture of and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna get off of wrestling because I know how much everyone loves it. The Nintendo 64 era, no mercy. Why don't we have games like that? Like games that are just a few buttons and a lot of fun. It just doesn't make any sense.
Because
What are you
everything
talking
needs.
about? They gave us Battlegrounds.
Yeah, Battlegrounds is fun. Okay, so Battlegrounds is okay. So Battlegrounds gets a lot of shit. It's fun. It's really fun to play with other people. It's horrible to play against computer. Like it's just not fun to play that game against computer. Yeah. But when you're playing against like people, it's a blast. Like I had a blast playing with Corey when I was doing my review of it. Like it was fun. Like we had a good time. I lambasted that game and I sent my review to, I guess that was Saber Interactive, and they like sent me back a nice letter saying thank you for your feedback. And I was like, yeah, I lambasted that game.
Dude, that game it is a mobile game that was ported to console because they didn't have a title, like a big title. Like,
it won't. Okay, so it was always going to be their secondary game that year. That's what people don't realize. They already said they were going to make a secondary game that year, but I feel like we could talk more on Super Loot Bros of how to make the perfect wrestling game. The perfect wrestling game would just be if they made a subscription service and like you just paid and then like you got roster updates that were like $60 or $70 roster updates, but they gave you like 30 or 40 guys. full entrances, full movesets, full gear.
Yeah,
Like,
but then they'd release them, and you'd have to buy the next pack because you wouldn't have any wrestlers.
Oh, you mean like 2K, like last year's game or 2 years ago game? Like we're not in, like 60% of the roster's gone now.
Yeah, like now they couldn't even put out a game right now. They wouldn't have a full
saying,
roster.
dude. So 19 had like the best roster.
21 or 20 or 20 had a really, really good roster. Like a really good roster. 19 had better legends because like once they made 20, a lot of those contracts ran up and it was sad. But like
Jericho's not in 20, is he?
Yes, he is. He is in 20 because that was right.
Oh, okay.
That was before AEW existed. Well, because remember that game was made in 19.
19, yeah.
They made it in 19, so
he's like my safe pick.
I think he's in there. Yeah, I think he is. I'm not 100% sure. I can go check. Like not right now,
Well,
but
let's put a pin in that. We'll come back to that on like I said, a Super Loot Bros, where we can just really dive in and give it all we got. Because there's 2 games I want to throw out there that I played, and then we'll move on. I played The Last Stop on Xbox. I did it through cloud gaming, the xCloud or whatever, to my I think I lied. I downloaded it on my PC, as a matter of fact.
Isn't that a 2D scroller zombie game?
No, this one is this is the latest Annapurna game. It's very I don't know what to compare it to. It's not so much Telltale-esque in the sense that it's very linear narrative, heavy narrative, and it's very lightly animated. Like it's not overly detailed. It's I don't know. I don't know what to compare it to. I guess other than Virginia, which is the game that this particular team made before it. But I tried it out. I played the prologue and then maybe 30 minutes to an hour, into the game, and I kept falling asleep. Like I was middle of the day. I don't know. It just wasn't grabbing me. Like I was trying it. I think CJ, you played it and you enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a CJ game.
Yeah.
But that's what I said too. Like you'd know within the first hour if you like it or not. It's more like a movie than a game.
Yeah. I'll say. I'll definitely say that. And I tend to enjoy those type of games, but this one, I don't know. It wasn't working for me, so I might come back to that one. But
what
then
do you not like about it?
It's just slow, and it's not very busy. There was a scene or early into the game. You're this guy, and I think you and your daughter are you have to walk her to school, and then from there you're trying to go to work. And there's a whole scene where you have to kind of walk through, like almost like the town square, the park, where you're trying to find your place of business. And it's middle of the day. I'm sitting in my recliner, which is probably my biggest mistake, just being comfortable. But I'm playing this game on my PC, and I just like doze, like trying to find where I'm supposed to go, and I just keep falling. I fell asleep there, and then there was like some interactions and some dialogue stuff afterwards, and like later on when the dude's at work, and the beginning wasn't bad because there's kind of like a chase scene and some weird supernatural stuff happens. But I don't know. I just kept. I wasn't really invested. It wasn't clicking for me, and it might now because I'm gonna go into the next game. And it might have just been a me thing that day because I switched over to the Ascent. Now, this is a top-down isometric twin-stick shooter and with a very cyberpunk aesthetic. And these are like Darrell games. Like this is my kind of game. And I was very excited about this one. This one was shown at the E3 for Xbox. I'm like, yes, this is all me right here. This is going to justify me having Game Pass. Like super excited. And I started playing the game and I got like 2.5 hours into it. And I was like, man, the story, they're saying a lot of words, but like none of it's resonating. Like it's futuristic. There's all this cyberpunk thing going on, and they're talking about all these towns. And I do just like a bunch of people talking about Star Wars and Star Trek, Like, I don't know what planet you're talking about. I don't know what type of people these guys are. I don't really care. Like, nothing's happening to make me care about the story at all. So it's very much, so far in the first couple hours, for me, it's like turn the dialogue off and listen to music or listen to a podcast kind of thing. And then, so I'm playing the game. And even though I hadn't got to the point where I'd completely just turn it off and listen to something else, like I'm playing and like you do the first mission, you go into these different levels in this town or whatever. And again, no real clear direction on like where you're supposed to go. Like you have like a general idea, and there's some stuff popping up on your mini map. Every now and again, I'm fighting like these bandits and these like these little thugs or whatever. But then like I'm not really. It has the same problem that Alienation has, like on PlayStation, where I'm like I don't know if where I'm going is the right way, and then I find enemies that seemingly are a little more overpowered than I am. I get these random one-shot kills where like somebody hits me with a rocket and I'm dead. So then you go and you play through the section again, and it's like, I don't know, it just wasn't the first mission, 2 missions, whatever I ended up doing. I just it wasn't clicking. Like I'm like, man, this is not really that fun. And then you got shout out to James McCall and Levi. They're in the Facebook group talking about, they're raving about how great this game is. And I'm playing the game and I'm like, okay, this is my style of game. This is what I'm really into this stuff. And like, this is just not that good. So I can't tell how much of it is they're just starving for a like exclusive game that like you can't play this anywhere else. Or oh my gosh, here's like day and date Game Pass title. This is why we love it. And like the game is getting a little bit of a rub for that. Or if it's just, it just wasn't clicking for me. I don't know. I'm going to try it again tomorrow. My goal is to jump back into that game tomorrow and give it another couple hours to see if it clicks. But for as of right now, I was a little disappointed in the Ascent. CJ, have you played that one yet?
Yeah, it's not really for me, that game. I think it's probably maybe best played in co-op. As like a party sort of game, like talking and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Like I know there's a story, so not for everybody, but to play that way. But that's probably the only way I would play it, I think.
Gotcha. Well, that's me. I think this is a record for the Loot Bros podcast to be an hour and 40 minutes into the show and just get out of what we're playing. So, oh gosh, I love it.
And thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. No, just kidding.
All right, so
Zack played nothing, and it still took an hour and 40 minutes.
No Tanner, no Kalai. Zack didn't play anything, and we went even longer than normal. 40 minutes longer.
I mean, CJ really did a whole topic of the show inside of what he's been playing.
True that. And that right there is why.
Good content, boys.
Exactly. That's right. And I want to throw this out there. All right. So I've gotten a lot of personal messages about the hosts that we have at this point in time in the show. Okay. Friends, listeners, and then people who follow my brother's streams who also listen to the show have kind of talked to him about it. And they said that, we got a good group of people now. Whereas we haven't always had that. Just want to throw that out there. Good job, guys. So, all right. We got the True Achievements Loot Bros custom leaderboard. In first place, Cool Kid Joe with 9,825 achievement points. In second place, the Alpha Seagull with 4,035 points. And then third place, Sony Pony to You with 1,285 points. And then I'm going to go, you know what? We got a good diverse list over here. So we're going to, fourth place, I'm styling on you, bro, with 915. Seems like he's really leaning hard in those Xbox leaderboards. Or just Xbox in general. I mean, the leaderboard isn't really.
I think he's trying to get a Series S at the moment.
There you go. And then we got Redbeard Rick with 745. And then my good friend Dump Liquor with 265 achievement points.
Good old Dump Liquor.
Old Dump Liquor, that's right. Then we head over to the True Trophies PlayStation leaderboards, the Loot Bros podcast custom leaderboard. In first place, Affectatious Donk. 938 trophies. I did it for the Apple Plus subscription.
That's true. my typical Apple got me though. It renewed on me the day before I got the PS5. But of course, you do get 6 months. So if you don't want to pay Apple any money, just buy a PS5, and you're set.
I have just been informed. We got breaking news. My oldest son just came running up here to tell us that he is getting ready to beat Subnautica Below Zero. So I don't know if you guys have played Subnautica, but it's like an underwater survival style game.
Can you beat that game?
Yeah. It's got a story and everything, and it's very Minecraft in the sense that like the story can be what you make of it. If you're just into exploring and gaining resources and crafting and building your base and stuff, but there is other things going on. But that game is really pretty. It's very clean and very pretty. Now, if you're not into survival style games, it's definitely not a game for you. It's definitely not a game for me. Although I've tried it, but it's watching him play it, man. It's pretty dope. So
yeah, I thought it was just a survival game. I didn't know it had a story.
Yeah, there's Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero. Zach, if you were the type of guy who maybe created lists, to play games for a certain podcast,
wait, what now?
You could put a game like Subnautica on a list. I don't know.
Play games. What is this? A video game podcast?
Yeah. Second place, Resident Darrell with 125 trophies. Now, the disparity between first and second: 938 versus 125. I don't know. Somebody came in hard about how the PlayStation ain't all that impressive and did some impressive numbers. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
It's a wonderful spam machine. I've never denied it has the best spam in the world, Darrell.
So third place, we have Miss Lightsight with 107. So we have some competition in here. And then I'm going to jump down to number 13, which, by the way, we keep getting more and more people join our leaderboards. We definitely appreciate it. I love seeing new names pop up on there. I love seeing that people who are listening to the show that don't necessarily write in every week or engage with us through social media join the leaderboards. So I think that's awesome. But number 13, I'm Funny How with 1 trophy. So just want to point that out there. Very nice.
I tell you, you're not funny with your trophies, are you, sir? You got 1 trophy.
So yeah, very cool. So, and then I do not have the backlog beatdown brought up, so we will double down on that next week. I got something special planned for it as well. So, you guys want to jump into community questions?
Let's do it. Head first. No water.
There you go. Balls deep, as
floaties.
they say in the South.
Hello.
All right, we got some good ones. All right, so first, I'm styling on you, bro. Wrote a question that says, "Whenever I'm online, I see in quotes online on PS5 for all my friends who own a PS5. Is this definitive proof that there is no quality next gen content to play? Lack of power to play anything, or both?" I think this is bait. What are you going to say, Zach?
I was just going to say, well, what you want to do is forget about that and sell your PlayStation on eBay for like $1,000.
Hey, man, those prices are coming down now.
Easy fix.
About 700 American right now.
I will not be taking a bite of that carrot.
Sure, it's big and juicy.
I guess the problem is, why is it that your friends list shows that all of your friends are on PS5, but you're speaking from a position of like a PS4? Sounds like you just need to level up, bro.
That was one of the best trolls Sony ever did by adding that, upright Lady Demetrios type, console image to your play screen. Because every time you turn on the PS4, you felt like a cheap, degenerate fucker. Because everyone on your list had a PS5 and you didn't. And they'd even put you at the bottom of the list. Well, that might not be true, but that's what it felt like. And you're just like, you're surrounded by people with PS5. None of them are playing anything. They're just online because they just want to show they want to show the world, oh, look, I've got a PS5. So that's what I did, Darrell. I just, the first 2 days, I didn't play anything. I just left it online. Look at this, fuckers. I got a PS5 too. Not going to use it, but it's on. And that's what it's the biggest ego. Like I'm going to turn on I'll play the Xbox tonight. I'll put the PS5 on just so the world knows I've got one. Just massive ego fest that thing is. So congratulations to Sony for creating that.
There you go. See, you figured it out. It's not just the games; it's the meta.
You have to friend me so I can flex on your ass.
That's right.
Oh, it is. That's all it is.
Zach's getting a second shirt in the Loot Bros merch store.
The other funny thing, I got
Two t-shirts. Let's go.
The other funny flex, of course, is like, and we won't detract because we know we keep talking about how bad trophies are or whatever. But I got a message when about 2 hours later, a person a little bit behind me on the leaderboard or whatever else that I think has plans of passing me, and rightly so. They should. I'm an old man, need some slack. And it's been very hard to try and maintain any sort of consistency with only a PS4. And when they realized they got the 5, all I got in the message was, "Oh fuck, it's over." And it's true, Darrell, isn't it? Because every game has a PS5. All these short games, as you said, have PS5 stacks that take 30 seconds.
And most of them they're free.
Yeah,
it's
they're
just
free.
like I got all these extra trophies to get now, which is awesome.
That's right.
So if I was smart, I'd save them for this trophy war that keeps brewing up. But I'm not going to do that because I can't resist.
No.
I got to pop them.
Once you put it in, it's very hard to pull out before you pop. I know.
Yeah, I told my wife that for years. It's like there's no such thing. It's just Anyways, Matt G writes in and he says, "I have been massively enjoying my time with Monster Hunter Stories 2, over 35 hours so far. Is there a mainline series game that you play you like to see get a sideline series? And what kind of game would you like that to be? For example, Monster Hunter is an action boss fight game with RPG elements, while Monster Hunter Stories, is more of a traditional JRPG with turn-based fighting systems." So, guys, is there a franchise or a series that you enjoy that you would like to see get a spin-off series? We will start with Zack and work our way around.
Well, I was going to say Fallout, but it kind of got Fallout 76, and we all know how that turned out. But if I had to say, oh man, I don't really know. It'd be interesting to get like a, maybe like a different type of Resident Evil game. I guess they did like first person and stuff, but maybe if they did like, what's that? What type of games am I trying to think of? I am playing games so long I can't even remember. It's like I don't know, something like that, I guess. I don't really have a good answer because I can't think.
Great answer.
Maybe they did like a Mario Party style Resident Evil game. That'd be weird. It'd be kind of cool too. Play like mini games where you're like Mr. X and you gotta hunt everybody down. Or something like that. So. Well, what about you, CJ?
Yeah, I don't know. Like a mainline game with a spin-off series. I suppose I would have liked the easiest one to go to is Persona 5 and Royale. And I know they got the Muso game, but I wouldn't have minded. I mean, that game would be perfect for a spin-off with all the characters. Maybe I know they did a dancing one. They could do like another dancing one with the side. That would be pretty cool because those games were good, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I would actually. It's funny, but I would like to see the F1, the new F1 game that EA has sort of taken over through Codemasters. They put a story mode in it for the first time, and there's actually cutscenes. And yeah, it's cringy or whatever else. But I was thinking I would actually like to see this is probably a deep cut, so probably none of you would be interested. But there's on Netflix, there's been for the last couple of years an F1 documentary series running, which is it's very dramatic, but it's quite good. And this year's season is very dramatic with what's going on. So I'd like to see like a spin-off where they lean into that. So you have your racing part, but a bit like a Call of Duty, where they also have a campaign that's a bit like a Telltale style campaign with F1, because there's enough drama now within the drivers and the teams that, I think that would be awesome. Like minimal driving and more just focusing on like all the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
Like that TV show.
That'd be
awesome.
cool.
Like Talladega Nights.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you're Ricky Bobby running around and
yeah, I think so.
living the rock star lifestyle.
What about you, Joe?
Oh, man, this is such a tough question.
It is. It is a really tough question.
I mean, a mainline game that gets a spin-off that's a different genre. Huh. Oh, it's like I already played one of those called Hyrule Warriors.
Ooh.
Oh man, and I have to give kudos because I actually tried Monster Hunter Stories 2. It's actually a great game. I don't know, like there's been so many good ones in the past I could lean towards. Like I would like to see another tactics game made from a franchise similar to what they did with Onimusha Tactics. Like imagine like Dead Space Tactics.
Dang, that's a thought.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, or Doom Tactics. But like it's a tactics game that there's like speed involved.
So you have to like do turn based, but speed style.
But speed style, because you got to keep this
little turn based.
Yeah, and the metal's playing in the back. Yeah, oh yeah. Or like a card battler Doom game, so it could be fast, like a fast-paced card battling game for Doom. Go. I think that would be freaking cool. Or even a Doom Endless Runner.
Oh my gosh, there you go, like Tokyo Run,
but with Doom.
Gore, demons, guns,
boobs,
and then like if I like an easy one, like I would love like a Streets of Rage RPG. I think that would be cool. Mm-hmm. So instead of like straightforward beat 'em up combat, you have your turn based Streets of Rage game. I think that'd be kind of cool. Kind of be like Battle Chasers, kind of, which is underrated game if no one's played it.
I think I've played that one. Not 100%. So, me as a Resident Evil fan, we do this kind of thing over here in Capcom land, where we take our standard, survival horror title, and then every other game throw out some wild spinoff that's in a different genre. I highly recommend you guys trying it because the fans are very supportive and they love that kind of thing. So that's sarcasm. That doesn't usually go over very well. But for me, I love this idea, right? I love this idea because I think that you can tell more story and explore a universe better, in a different style. So the Telltale is always a go-to for me. Like something a little more narrative heavy, a little less action intensive. So I think Silent Hill, the rumor is Silent Hill's getting ready to do that. They're going to do a mainline Silent Hill game, and then Bloober Team is supposed to be doing a Silent Hill style, narrative driven walking simulator experience similar to the Medium. So
that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah. So I love that stuff. And like Gears of War, third person over the shoulder shooter, but then they have Gears of War Tactics, Halo first person shooter, Halo Tactics. That stuff, I love that stuff. I think that's awesome. So for me, Resident Evil already kind of dabbles in that, but they don't veer far enough, in my opinion, or they veer the wrong direction. So Resident Evil being your standard third person or even now first person survival horror game, I would love a Telltale style, choice based narrative game that butterfly effects like Until Dawn, or something that really, it feels like there's actual choice, there's actual change in that kind of thing.
Right. That's actually a good idea.
So you would have more so survivors, not so much following the main characters, but you would find out because what you don't want is every single person in the universe to be a superhero. You know what I'm saying? Like you got Chris Redfield, you got Claire, you got Jill, you got Leon, you got Ada. Like you don't need, everyone's story doesn't need to be a positive one or I turn into this super bombastic hero type. No, I want like Walking Dead and Game of Thrones style. Like these characters are most likely going to die. Here's what's happening. So when the original Raccoon City outbreak starts, here is a narrative-based walking simulator where you're essentially playing out someone's final moments, their final days, and then something, or, going a little more Grand Theft Auto, a little more open world, but again, survivor style. Like I don't want my main characters, my linear-based, main characters, getting this like, random spinoff. I want like, here's what's happening in the world. So, whenever, the Resident Evil 6 happens and it's global infection. There's stuff happening all over the world. Give me a territory where, there's looting and there's, infection, there's outbreak, there's all this crazy stuff, and give me a couple of random characters that I need to survive, and or even tower defense, like give me a place that I need to build up and fight off the waves of infected and just survive till the end of it. So I think that there's and I think that every major franchise should have stuff like this. Now, granted, it doesn't always hit, but like Horizon Zero Dawn has a comic book series. God of War has a comic book series. Bloodborne has a comic book series. Like a different way to explore more lore in a franchise, I think is awesome. And I really wish that every franchise that I enjoyed had stuff like that. So,
well, that's neat. That'd be a good idea.
That's all I kind of have there, buddy. All right, Dump Liquor writes in. And he says, how muddy are the waters getting now? Xbox is giving you a free trial of Crunchyroll Premium for new Game Pass subscribers. Sony owns Crunchyroll, which means Microsoft is trying to entice people to come to Game Pass with a free trial of a Sony service. As an Xbox guy, I'd especially like to know what the Xbox shills think. Also, anime is terrible.
You just lost yourself question of the week there, buddy.
Give it up for my man, Dump Liquor.
Slow clap. So yeah,
and then it's gone.
I'm pretty sure that this news right here is piercing the heart of Levi and James and all these other Xbox White Knights. The fact that they're trying to grow their subscriber base, their platform base, with a Sony-owned anime subscription service. What do you think about that, CJ?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like, I think, it's inevitable that Microsoft will overtake. I think it's inevitable, will overtake Sony with their subscription model if they continue on the same path. The fact that they're adding more value or more enticements is just, will just speed in the process. But I mean, there's going to be a lot of this cross sort of stuff, I think, happen. I mean, we're seeing Apple, it's a strange deal in a way with Apple. They decided they've been offering, for some time now, if you buy a new Apple phone, you got a year of Apple Plus for free. They discontinued that and then abruptly started a 6-month thing with Sony and the PS5. So there's going to be all sorts of cross promotion or whatever that works for all companies. And I don't see why there can't be that for Sony as well. And I think that we joke about Game Pass will one day be available on PlayStation, and I'm sure the only problem with that will be Sony's end, slowing it down. And Microsoft have already shown they have no problem, having Sony publish games, and going after them with MLB, and that must have been a decent deal. Whatever, the reasoning behind that being forced or whatever, it's still a decent deal. So I think. I think it's like everything. If you can afford both consoles or you're in a position to have both, then this sort of stuff becomes less relevant because you therefore probably have both, access to both subscription methods anyway, and that sort of stuff. But I don't know, does anyone really buy a game? Like, would anyone really race out and buy one for the Apple, 6 months free Apple, or for this? It's just an added bonus. And you got to remember too that this is only for new subscribers. How many people in the world, that game regularly, and on a PC or Xbox have never, would be a new subscriber? Like, the majority of their clientele is already taken. That's why at least the Apple one is of more value, I suppose, because that's not, new subscribers. That's anyone can get that. So yeah, I think there's a lot of small print in here. There's a lot of stuff being offered. I mean, you go and buy that Elite controller, you get a month free Game Pass, but only if you don't already have it, if you haven't signed up. So there's a lot of this happening.
Yeah. I think it's pretty interesting. And I think that, like you said, there's going to be so much cross promotion, and with everyone buying everything, it's like, so while this whole time that Microsoft's been buying studios, Sony bought both anime platforms, Evo, just like random stuff that didn't seem to make sense. And then it's like, these guys are all growing their portfolio. And eventually it's going to be near impossible to market, to have, to stream, to do anything that's not in some way, shape, or form funded or owned or supported by the other players in the game.
Yeah, and
So
just to echo on that, there was a really, I know Gareth brought up this week this sort of a point that maybe the PS Plus subscriptions went down by 1 million because of COVID and people tightening up or whatever. And there was a flip side argument or discussion on Giant Bomb this week, which is really interesting, and it's very true. Is that like I know a lot of people are doing it incredibly tough. There's no question about that. But they looked at the angle of, well, what about if you manage to keep all your hours? You're now working from home. You're still getting paid the same rate. And I know a lot of people didn't. That didn't happen. But there are a lot of people that it did. You're so far ahead than you've ever been. Financially in life because you're saving on tolls, petrol. You can't travel. And you're even potentially getting some sort of stimulus from the government. So the rise of these subscriptions of tech, buying fancy TVs, it's especially in Australia at the moment, it's huge for I don't know what the percentage is, but for a large number of people that have maintained their quality of life, and work and stuff like that to a degree. So I think that, it only makes sense. Like, I can make $2 billion or I can make 2.5. They want to make as much money as they can, these companies, and now is the time to strike because people buying both techs because they can afford it or justify it and have the time to use it. So I think it's a wonderful image that Sony and Microsoft are fighting all the time or whatever. But I'm sure there's a lot of backhand deals where it's, well, look, this is good for us, and and I mean that came out with this epic trial, a lawsuit or whatever else. Like well, so what if we kick back money to Sony? This is still good for us, So there's a lot of that to be had as well, I think.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting too because like me, I looked and like for years when I was younger, dude, I was like, man, why can't I just pay for what I want to watch on TV? Like I used to pay our cable bill growing up, like when I was just starting to work, but I still lived at home with my dad, and it was like if you want to have cable, you got to pay for it, and that was oh man, this is 15, almost 20 years ago, and I was paying like $160 a month. That was a lot. That was a large chunk of my money, my income, and I only had it so I could watch wrestling. Like that was the only thing I watched. I just didn't care about much on TV, and I was like, man, what? One day I would love to be able to just pay for just what I like, and then now here I am, grown, making plenty of money. And I've got more subscription services than I've got time to watch everything. I'm like, I'm paying the same amount of money again. I got all this extra crap.
But the only thing I'd echo with that, and I know this dates us as well, Darrell, but we live in a time now where there are no penalties anymore for, like I know there are contracts for certain things you buy, but none of these subscription services charge you a lock-in anymore. So you can come and go as you want. Like we're from a time, where you would be paid, you'd have to pay out a thing or you'd have to commit to so many months. Going month to month is a thing that's really happened in the last 4 or 5 years thanks to Netflix, but that wasn't an option. You couldn't just pick and choose like you can now, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
My daughter is 9 years old, right? When she was first born, no, she wasn't even born yet. When my son, he's 11, when he was 6 months old, you did it. You beat the game.
Yes.
Good job. Good job. Congratulations, son. That's some be legit points right there.
30-hour game, maybe more.
Yep. Good job.
If I had my time together, it took me 31 hours.
Good job.
Congratulations. You're ready for Final Fantasy XIV tutorial.
I beat the other one.
Go beat some more of them.
I'm going to bed.
All right, love you. But yeah, so this joker right here is beside me now. He's 11. When he was 6 months old, I lost my job. The day I came home to tell my wife that I got let go, we had just had new cable and internet stuff installed, and it was a 2-year commitment. So here I am losing my income, and then I'm locked into a 2-year deal where I have to pay, I think it was like almost like $1,000. It's something astronomical. You had to pretty much cover the whole first year, and then there was a penalty on top of it. Yeah. So for canceling. So yeah, this month to month now it's amazing.
It's a topic for another time because I always, I know it's the responsible thing to do to cancel services if you're not going to use them, but coming from a time where you just let it run because you didn't have a choice, like otherwise you
Yep.
didn't have it. It's, I suppose I justify the $10 to Netflix. I only need to watch one thing, and the months I binge it more than pays for itself. But we are definitely in a different time. Like people, I understand switch all the time.
That's why I justify my Game Pass. And I'm a Game Pass hater, but it's like I might play one game every couple months, and that will justify the cost. So
different time.
Yep. So all right. Jared writes in. He writes a freaking book. But I guess when you're a Patreon producer, and you're subscribing in the top tier, you're going to make Tanner or Kalai play games.
I wondered whose hand I could feel on my leg, Jared. The
There you
producer
go.
role. Very nice. He's
going for the carrot.
getting the coding couch ready out there, Darrell. It's got the code couch.
The carrot couch. So, all right. He said a constant topic of discussion on the show is the growing backlog. That's not the only thing growing that we all have. As I'm closing out my third backlog beatdown call your shot list, I'm finding that in my backlog there are games I want to play. There's also games I really don't want to play. Sometimes I wonder why I decided to buy some of these games in the first place. Maybe a price was too hard to refuse. It's not the only thing too hard to refuse. You know what I'm saying? This reminds me of when the great one, Resident Darrell, used to play games on his backlog and would play some of the games maybe 1 or 2 hours. But if he was miserable, he would just retire a game. I want to put a pin in that. The first ever backlog beatdown we did on the show was just more so like we just kind of cheer each other on and pick games and play them. And it's like you beat it, you completed it, or you retired it because it just wasn't good. And you just got it off of your list. So that was the old days. He says, I think everyone should be given a retire option, maybe 1 to 2 games per list, and don't take a point loss. Just a thought. But that's not my main question. Hopefully, whoever's reading this can do it good. Well, I hope I did a good job. And I will say, maybe in the future, we'll do something like that. Because that was the way we started it. But for this particular event, I'm sorry, Jared, there is no retire options other than the one where you lose a point.
Good question.
I mean, if he wants to call it retiring a game, we can change the name just for him.
Yeah.
We can call it the Jared retirement option.
There you go. The Jared Geyser retirement.
Yeah, the Jared Geyser retirement option.
There you go.
And that's because you're a Patreon exclusive member. You're a producer. You just got something named after you, bro.
There you go.
You too can get something arbitrarily named after you on this show.
Hey, Jared, hands
For $1.99
on the knee. You're not paying enough to touch the package yet, so we haven't got that.
So you really gotta let it sit there and marinate on the Patreon page. But if you start clicking around, tiers number 5, 6, and 7 will open up.
Somehow you end up at my OnlyFans.
Maybe he'll play games there.
I'll put up.
That's my whole content. People watch me play games.
That's right.
Finally,
in his underwear.
Oh my gosh! All right, I'm gonna plug their show again just because it's been killing me. But my friends over at the Geek Life HQ, the running gag, especially these past few episodes, has been showing people your butthole. And I mean, like, they're obnoxious with it. Like, they talk about showing buttholes like every few minutes, and it's hilarious. But when I think about Zack's OnlyFans, I'm thinking he's playing the Switch, just showing the beehole. Not doing anything, just here's the beehole, here's my Switch. Just playing. All right, Jared writes in as a mature adult that would never talk about beeholes. He says, do you actually want to play all the games on your consistently growing backlog? I think I don't. So I would like to now submit 2 terms to be entered into our vocabulary for backlog. Backlog guilt. This is a game you bought and now you spent money on it and you feel an obligation to play this game, but currently you really don't want to play it. And you're trying so hard to get through it because you spent money on it. The next term is backlog privilege. These are games that you spent money on and you know it's something you will love and you want to push it right to the front of your backlog beatdown. His final actual real question is, what is your backlog guilt and what is your backlog privilege? I'm going to go first on this one. And Alien Isolation would be backlog guilt. That is a game that I feel like, for multiple reasons, I should play. I bought the game digitally and physically. It's a survival horror game in the Alien universe, all things I love. The game is very stealth, it's very difficult, and it's very effing boring. And I pushed through it, and I pushed through it, and I pushed through it. And I finally retired it because the game is not fun. And I feel guilt for doing that.
Okay, games aren't supposed to be fun, Darrell. It's all about it's all about trophies and getting pissed off.
Trophies are fun.
It's not about fun. It's not about fun.
No, the game that files into the backlog guilt, and I'm just going to continue to feel guilty. But I ain't playing that freaking game no more. And then for my backlog privilege, I would say Ghost of Tsushima, a game that I really want to move to the front because I know it's going to be good, and it's been sitting in the wrapper since it came out. But I'm over here playing Retro Mania Arcade, so gotta wait.
All right, I'll go next. I'll go next, I guess. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I mean, I guess Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is my guilt. Like, I bought it as my first game on my Switch, pretty much, and I haven't really played it. Another guilt could be Fallout 4. I bought it when I bought my PS4, and I bought it when I bought my PS4. And guess what? I bought 600 other games since I bought it before, and I haven't even beat it. I beat the first mission. I got out of the vault, and I'm like, fuck this game.
Haters.
I did the same thing.
Oh man! But you know what? My dumb ass would buy a Switch port of Fallout 3, like day one. I'd be like, oh, and I beat it that day. Like I just play it until it's done. Or I would buy Skyrim if I could play it on this bottle of Planters Peanuts. Like,
all right, check it out. I own Mafia 2 on PS3. Okay, I own it on Xbox 360. I own it digital and physical. Okay, I bought it on PS4 today. Because it was on sale.
Because it's $10. It was $10.
And I've never played it. Well, I played it, but I never finished it.
So that is probably my favorite Mafia game out of all of them.
It's really good from what I remember.
It's very good. But all right. So then, what was the other one? Your privilege.
Your privilege. You need to move it to the front of the line.
I mean, I guess Last of Us 2. And maybe Death Stranding, or even like Red Dead, but I can say Red Dead's guilt as well. But I feel like things that I should really play, Persona 5. Let's do that. Like I should really just finish it.
Should.
They put a lot of time into it and just never finished it.
All right, we'll let CJ pull up the rear. Zach, what you got?
Well, I guess my backlog guilt would be 99% of the games I actually own.
Making a list?
Making a list is his guilt.
The privilege is the other 1%.
Honey pot.
Yeah.
He's got honey pot privilege. It's another new T-shirt.
Oh my gosh!
You know, I'm gonna get clowned for this, but I actually don't even remember my original list.
I know Doom was on it.
The only game I remember is The Last of Us 2.
Yep.
That's because Joe just brought it up. And I actually remember I played the first couple story missions, and I really liked it. That would be my privilege if I had to choose that. But as far as the guilt, the rest of them. The rest of the 4. Whatever I chose.
All right, CJ.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd come at it from a different angle. I don't think you should feel guilt because you buy something and then you decide you don't want to play it. I mean, maybe it's not fiscally responsible, but assuming you're in a position that you can afford it, it's fine. I mean, if you're not, then that's a problem, I suppose. But it's not like you've lost anything. You still have the game, and just because you don't feel like playing it now, you thought you did, and then 2 weeks later you don't, doesn't mean you won't come back to it. And I think it's a different way of thinking about how you play. Like for me, like I have a certain number that I'm not allowed to go above in games that I own that I haven't played, or I try not to go above, or whatever else. So if I get a little bit above that number, I start playing some or whatever else. So like, and it's just an arbitrary number because I suppose I'll never get through them all. But
4
but
hours.
yeah.
So no, wait. Now, so does that include spam games, CJ, or just those don't count?
Yeah, no, all games. Yeah, any game on the like if it's a game. Yeah, I don't make distinction between what type of game. So
All right, so now I'm with Darrell. It's like 400 because Sig behind spam like every day.
It's 600, but I'm slightly above. I'm like 615 at the moment. But it's funny. I've held like it swings back and forth, but I get to the ones that I want. But I think one of the things, like, I feel sorry for the people that can only play one game at a time. And I understand the attraction. Like, you play that game through to completion, you really get immersed in it. But that's what really slows you down. And it also, mentally, you're like, I don't like this bit of this game, or I've had enough. And they just keep playing. I think you get through far more if you're playing, if you're the sort of gamer that can manage playing multiple different games at the same time, and also games over time. So like you mentioned Tsushima there, Darrell, like that's a really good game where you just can chip away at Assassins over a year. And I think that's how I play. So like for those big games, like maybe the first 10 or 15 hours, it could take me like 5 months, but the next 40 hours will probably take 1 week, because when I really get into it, I'm ready for it. But I've spent quite a bit of time over months getting into that point. And I think, I find this backlog thing hilarious because I play whatever I want, whenever I want. And there's no reason why anyone else can't do that, because especially if you own all these games, there's nothing stopping you from playing anything if you own it. It's just this, mental hang up, I should finish this, I should finish that. And it just comes down to, I suppose it comes down to if you're the sort of person that can only read one book at a time, or if you don't mind multiple things, it's the same thing. If you're happy to have multiple different experiences running, it's great. And if not, then that. But I don't think you should feel, guilty or whatever else. As to buying stuff, as Darrell alluded to with the Mafia 3, I think that is an issue. I think that's an issue if that's something you're suffering from, buying on multiple systems and never having played it. That's totally a financial position. If you can afford it, it's fine. But I don't necessarily understand that as much, unless you want to play it more than once, which I've done with big games. But I think if you are on multiple systems, I think the best thing you can do is try and pick early on where you're going to play a certain game, and then just stick with it. Because that's the one thing I draw the line at, and I don't draw the line at it much, but having the same game on 2 different systems in 2 different positions and never finishing either of them, that's insanity to me. So I'd rather just pick one and do it. And I do play, different games on different systems, but only because I'm probably going to finish them because I really like the game. But yeah, I can't see that myself, Darrell. I'm sorry there to throw you under the bus. But
wow, I have finally done it. I have finally surpassed CJ.
It's disturbing. Especially to buy the PS4 version after you have everything.
Well, okay, so in this one particular case, let me explain myself. Now, this is not my first, second, or third offense. So this is an ongoing issue. But I own the game on PS3 because they gave it to us as a PS Plus game years and years ago.
Well, if you get it free, that's different, yeah.
Right. Well, okay, you're right. But I'm such a stickler for physical games that I still buy physical versions of the games that I want to have. And I've played this game before, and I really enjoyed what I played of it. Now, I came across a good, cheap copy of the PS3 version, so I bought it. I'm like, cool, I own it physical and digital. One goes on the shelf, one stays downloaded on the console for 8 years. So then I got a lead on a guy that I'm buying a lot of Xbox 360 stuff from. And I was buying games very, very inexpensively. So I was buying them a boatload at a time. And then one of the first games I picked out was Mafia 2. I'm like, oh, well, I got to have it. I mean, I haven't finished it yet. So may as well get that version because you never know. I might play that one instead. Mm-hmm. And then I'm sitting here going, like, realistically, that's a game that's going to take some hours and some commitment. So I might need, to play it on my PlayStation 4 or 5. So
Yeah.
it's like definitive edition, $10. Why not?
Yeah, I can look at it. Look, I'm talking from I'm a man that has the Mafia 3 Definitive Edition still wrapped upstairs. So, I'm talking from a position of strength, obviously. But yeah, I think one of the big things though is like because you don't have the time, Darrell, that some of us have to play either. So playing on whatever system, that I can understand that as well. But I think one of the things, Jared, that I find most interesting is that every time you buy it, it's a good way to think of it. Every time you race hard and buy a game, it puts potentially the other games you were planning on playing into your backlog. I suppose it puts them further away. So once you can if there's a game you really want to play, you do in a way have to stop buying because it just keeps pushing you further away from that, I think. And I think that's a better way to think of it than, it's in my backlog, because the backlog is never going to happen anyway. It's a myth. But it's a better way to think, well, I really want to play this game, but I need to go out and buy this game. It does put that one even further back. And it gets to a point, like you'll get to that point, where you're just like, I don't want to put it any further back. I just want to play it. So.
Yeah, and I've done that recently with some games, and for me, sometimes they hit and sometimes they miss, but sometimes revisiting a game at a different point in life, and it's just like, this is exactly what I needed. Now, Alien Isolation is probably never going to be that for me, but Mafia 2 version 3.
You do realize you just doomed yourself, right? Because now someone's gonna make you play fucking Alien Isolation. So enjoy it. No, enjoy. Because you screwed yourself.
Yeah, you say that, but you know what? There's nobody listening to this show brave enough to pay me to play that game. It's not gonna happen.
No.
How much does it cost to get somebody to play a game?
25.
All right, Darrell.
It's not gonna happen.
Challenge accepted.
Here's what's gonna happen, right? You're gonna have people heckle me, but they're not really gonna do anything about it. So, and I'm pretty confident with that.
So did he not pick who he wanted someone to play a game? You just doomed yourself. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the nice ride while it lasts. Because
no. See, Jared wants me to play some pervy anime game. Okay, Levi ain't gonna cough up the stuff for that tier. So I'm going.
Well, he doesn't play. He doesn't pay money on PlayStation anymore. He just waits till it's all free. So until he can get you to play a game for free.
That game was free though. So, the bad thing was I bought it digitally. I bought it physically because I had to have a physical copy of it. It's about the horror, you know what I'm saying? And then they gave it to us. I'm like, freak.
I mean, whatever way you want to justify your purchase of that game, you do you. You do you. But I'm telling you, now someone's going to make you play it. So you just doomed yourself.
Yeah,
well, the thing is, it's going to be one of you that he picks because he won't be able to pick for me because I've played basically everything. So there's no way he's going to be able to tell what I haven't played. So.
And CJ is over here sitting pretty like there's nothing that phases him. There's no weakness. He's like, I'll play it all.
I'm not playing Fortnite. That game's garbage.
Oh, well. That's what you say. Zach's like, oh, really? Subscribe.
Yeah. Zack, I'll hire Zack to play under my account name for Fortnite.
Double the money.
My kill ratio will suddenly go from one suicide death. That's where I'm starting, Zach. So you got a clean slate. I jumped off the bridge and deleted the game. So.
Dude, watch this. Somebody's going to come in here. They're going to pay CJ to play Fortnite, and then he's going to be freaking hooked, and then everything else is going to go to the wayside.
Minutes. I gave it a full 5 minutes. It's a high recommendation for me. It was garbage.
I gave my wife 5 minutes, and 20 years later, 3 kids later, here we are.
You gave your wife 5 minutes 20 years ago, but not today.
5 minutes,
not today.
He's 5 minute hero over there.
5 minutes, I can go twice and still clean up
and cook dinner.
That's right. All right, so I want to say this, guys. I'm going to give you guys the option. Okay, we are 2 hours and 25 minutes into this show. We've had some amazing conversation. We've had some really great questions. Do you want to go into this week's official topic, or do you want to save it for next time?
I think we should table it here. It's late.
Yeah, I think save it for next time.
Okay, I think that we've had a really good conversation tonight. Now, what I'm going to do is something a little special. Normally, we all sit back and we decide together as a collective who had the best question of the week. Since Zach hasn't been here in a long time, I'm going to let Zach choose who you thought had the best question this week.
Well, Jared had like 4.
All right, so he's out.
You know what? Good old dump liquor.
Old dump liquor.
Wait,
There you go. Oh, you disagree, Joe?
you're just doing it because you can. It's like that scene in Jurassic Park where it's like Ian Malcolm's like, you're not sure if you should do it, but you got the power, so you did it anyway.
There
But
you go.
but you didn't stop to realize if you should have.
What
That's
a,
right.
what a shocker that Zack would pick the giant anime titty question as the winner.
There you go.
Hey, what can I say?
Oh, look, respect.
I mean, they are so plump. Apparently,
And I tell you what, the tits are bigger on the Xbox too. That's why that Crunchyroll's really there.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right. There'll be an 8K
Yeah.
on the native 8K. They put the anime
Finally, I
in
get
the
to look at
console.
realistic boobies.
Realistic cartoon boobies. Yeah, I told my wife, I said, hey, we launched Patreon. You know, we've had a handful of subscribers. It's a lot of good support coming in real early. It's pretty cool. She's like, yeah, that's cool. She don't really care. And I was like, yeah.
Same thing.
So we got this tier set up to where you can, you know, pledge a certain amount of money and then you can pick a host and pick a game. She goes, oh, really? Has anybody done that yet? I was like, yeah, somebody came in and grabbed 2 spots. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, yeah, they're probably going to peg me down for some kind of trashy anime game.
Setting it up.
Next, the next thread in the Facebook group. I was like, yep, there it is. I see my fate.
You've just covered yourself for one night when you're watching some hardcore porn on the TV and the wife walks in. You go, whoa, I was paid to do it. I had to do it. You just set yourself up with a safety net for the rest of your life, haven't you?
It's part of Patreon.
He'll be 76.
Podcast
He'll be
stuff, I
75
swear.
years old. His teeth will be hanging out. And he'll be, look at that, love. They're paying me to do it. They're paying me.
It's not bad if it's just cartoons, right?
It's okay. It's Australia.
See, that's my go-to. That's the ace in the hole right there, baby. So, anyway,
Everything's all right in Australia.
It's like any conversation you have with CJ from now on in life. It's okay. He's Australian.
I would laugh so much if you get one of these, risque Japanese games, a Dead or Alive Extreme or something, and your wife, because she would be all over that game. That's like trashy reality TV. And she just gets hooked and she starts playing them and she becomes this massive Japanese perv gamer. It would be awesome.
Oh, no, what
Because
happened
that
to my
game is not
wife?
far away from what she likes, reality TV at all.
Oh
So-
my gosh. So yeah. So well, realistically, what I want to see come from this this particular tier Patreon is torture for my fellow podcast hosts.
I want to see Kalai play Gran Turismo on Twitch.
I want to see that. I want
Oh.
to see CJ playing Fortnite.
It's going to happen. They tried that before.
Clive's
It didn't
gonna be
work.
forced
It's
to-
not going to happen this time.
Oh, there's
Looks like
history there.
She's gonna be forced to play a wrestling game.
There you go. Oh my gosh, dude. Yes. That's a great idea.
That'd be awesome to set up a charity stream where people can donate again and be like, make Kalai do different like courses. Like,
It
all
would
right,
be
Kalai, you gotta do a 700 lap race, and you can't quit, and you can't, and you
You can't
can't quit.
I think it was 2011
Oh.
where they had the Undertaker Road to WrestleMania storyline.
Yep.
where you could beat him.
Yeah, that was a good storyline. Or you could, or the legend. What was the year they had the Legend Killer one? That was a really good year.
just not.
Wasn't that? No, wasn't that 12?
It might have been 12 because he was on the cover. Yeah, he was on the cover that year, wasn't he? 12.
No,
Yeah.
12 was Randy Orton. 13 was
13 was
CM
CM
Punk.
Punk.
Mr. AEW himself.
yeah. Come at AEW and get whooped up like he did when he went to MMA.
So yeah, I can't wait to do the Wrestle Bros podcast. I think we should do a SummerSlam review. I think that would be fun.
There you go.
Super Slam.
Shabadoo!
Before we get out of here, guys, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. If you made it this far, there is quite an amount of things to check out. So I know in the beginning of the show, we jumped right into our love for the Patreon and all of the people that are supporting us there. But there are a handful of other podcasts that we're doing and things that are extra content to the general audience that are free. They're not locked behind a paywall. One of those being a monthly Xbox podcast led by CJ called Avocation to Climb, where he gets together with the top handful of gamer score achievers in Australia and they have a good time. The first episode is live on the YouTube and in the podcast feed. It was awesome. And then Joe and Kalai have started doing a monthly Nintendo podcast called the Loot Bros Driftcast. And you guys got together and talked about the new OLED Switch. That is also on the YouTube and free to the general podcast audience. All of this stuff, as it releases, will also be thrown into the Patreon feed for everyone that's going to stay in the main feed. That stuff will be there, and it will be free to you as well. And then CJ, of course, did the wish list, and that is a Patreon exclusive bonus episode on top of the Super Loot Bros and the deep dive. So I really do think that this group, minus Zack, is really hitting on all four cylinders. We're pumping out a lot of great content. And I think if you are a fan of the Loot Bros or any combination of the hosts that we have here, there's a lot of value, whether you're a Patreon subscriber or not. So if you are a Patreon subscriber, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. If you are just a general listener of the Loot Bros, do us a favor, leave reviews, help us kind of get out on the all the lists and all the main things. Subscribe to the YouTube. There's a lot of work that goes into all this stuff, and your little sub and your little review does go a long way. So you guys got anything you want to add?
Nope. Perfect.
Yeah, don't forget to follow us so we can flex on you.
You don't have a little PS5 online thing, you don't matter.
Oh, that's amazing. All right, guys. This is the Loot Bros Podcast. We're the F out of here.